Because I will not have any impact whatsoever, regardless of what people may think with jinxing or saying the game is not going to be tough or difficult or anything in between.
I used all my jinx power against the Colts last week, so I am useless for the rest of the season. I cannot jinx the Chiefs because of how confident I was against Indy. You can blame me for that one, but nothing since.
Yeah, no, I can't jinx the Chiefs. You can.
I have that power.
You can jinx the Chiefs. I cannot.
Once a year.
I have no control whatsoever in what the Chiefs do. Win or lose or tie. You do. You absolutely jinx them all the time, and it's ridiculous, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I really need to, I got to get, that starts with me. I got to get back in the film room. I got to look at what went wrong against the Colts. I got to figure out how to not jinx the Chiefs against Tampa.
It's about damn time. About damn time. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. 913-912-4810. Text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation today. We will talk with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. We'll talk with him at 11 o'clock, get his thoughts on the Chiefs-Colts embarrassment, but look ahead to the Bucs and Chiefs. And if he has a feel for the game, I still have not developed a feel for this game on Sunday. I would be watching with maybe as much intrigue and unknown as I have in a long time for a Chiefs game, and that is because of just not really knowing what the Bucs are, not knowing what the Chiefs will look like, not knowing how injured Orlando Brown Jr. and Trey Smith might be in their performances on Sunday against the Colts, to where it's like, oh, they'll clearly bounce back and play better than that, unless, of course, they are hampered by an injury. Then it might not necessarily be ability rather than inability to play through to the highest level that we know they can at times. So that'll certainly be something to watch and pay attention to. And there was talk about the way Trey Smith was walking in the locker room yesterday. Todd Lebo was and Seren were talking about that. He was walking like he was Willie Roaf. Only difference is he does not typically walk like Willie Roaf. Jesse Newell talking about in the previous hour that he was not making excuses or anything for his play, and wasn't even really talking about the injury unless he was asked specifically, like, are you getting extra treatment? Yes, getting extra treatment, all of that stuff. So, yeah, he's battling something right now. Hopefully it's not serious enough to really impact the game. I think it certainly did on Sunday against the Colts, but there were a lot of other things that could have taken place that could have been done for the Chiefs to walk out of Indy with a win. They did not do that. Therefore, they have to respond this week against the Bucs. We'll talk with Kent Swanson, see if he has a feel for the game, and if there are any bigger issues that he's seeing from this Chiefs team that he is concerned about, or is this you know what, you move on, it's any given Sunday, it happens, bad games happen, you're not going to bring your A game 17 games out of the year. It's not going to happen. There are going to be some games where guys just lose concentration. There'll be some games where guys just don't have their head in it, and you simply chalk it up and move on, and you got to respond that next week. We'll see if that's the case or if there are any bigger issues. Ken Swanson at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from the Chiefs today. Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy, Dave Tobe. We will hear from the coordinators and then TBD, any other players that may be at the podium today, and hear what they have to say about that Colts loss and then what they're expecting from the Bucs. Certainly EB weighing in on Patrick Mahomes and his interaction before or right as they were going in for halftime. I expect his commentary to be the same as we've heard from everybody else's, in that, look, competitive people, and it wasn't what it looked like on TV. And Patrick's Patrick, and he's going to want to score every time he's got the ball. And we got to make a decision on what's best for the team at that time. And we know that he wants to go down and score every single time because he's a competitor, and we want to score too. But at that point, it was the best decision just to go into half. And we talked about it. And we got over it. We moved on. Not a big deal. I love Patrick. That's what I expect we'll hear from Eric Bieniemy. I don't expect, you know what, bleep that mother bleeper. I'm sick and tired of his bleep. All right? That's what I told him. Boy, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Oh, man. So we'll hear from Eric Bieniemy. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo, and we will hear from Dave Tobe,
who should have an equally fun press conference.
Probably less enjoyable than Eric Bieniemy and Steve Spagnuolo, I would guess.
Well, do you want to play who's going to have the most unpleasant press conference? Because it's not Spags.
It's certainly not.
We know it's not Spags.
I think it's Tobe. Eric Bieniemy's like, hey, you and Patrick had a conversation before halftime. Yeah, I know. And Patrick's weighed in on it. Andy's weighed in on it. Cool. The offense did struggle at times. Okay, yeah, offense struggled at times. Dave Tobe, it was embarrassing the way the special teams played.
Here's my prediction for Eric Bieniemy. I'd like to see. Go ahead and open up your DraftKings app right now.
Yep, done.
Go find the over/under. Go ahead and take the over 1.5 of Eric Bieniemy. I think we will get multiple Eric Bieniemy sort of laugh it off, then answer questions. So, Coach, did you see Eric? You have a nice little conversation with 15 before halftime. Well, Herbie.
Well, I'll say this,
and then that's gonna be what it is. So I think I'll take the over on 1.5. Eric Bieniemy.
He is a hell of a player. He is a hell of a player. 913-912-4810. Text says, damn it, Josh, you just made my 7-year-old cry. So I'm not even sure why.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to think is what did I do to make a 7-year-old cry? It's happened before. I mean,
came
regularly.
In just 3 minutes ago, something you may have said. I don't know.
Was it when I said I hate 7-year-olds? Because that would have done it. It must have been something else.
No, that wouldn't make a 7-year-old cry. I hate you, kid.
No.
Just make him punch you and win that fight.
Couldn't have been that.
Yeah. We'll hear from the Chiefs Sports or Leisure today as well. We'll play some Sports or Leisure, $25. Johnny's Tavern will be giving away for a little Sports or Leisure today in the 1 o'clock hour. And a lot of sound to play, a lot of things to hear. And Thursday Night Football going on tonight as well. Tex says, I'll take he's a competitive prick for $20.
Ooh, do we get the P word today?
I don't think so. I don't think, not after that.
I don't think so either.
I don't think you can drop the he's a prick.
I think we're going to get every syllable of he's a competitor.
Yeah.
We're really going to get every syllable in competitor.
I don't think it'll be much of the press conference, to be honest with you. I think it'll be one question. One or two questions. I think it'll be a question and then a follow-up.
Have
you guys talked?
Brad, I'm going to have two.
Is there anything? Well, it's in person though, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be. But what happened? Have you guys talked and everything? Okay, cool. All right, offense.
Yeah.
What the hell, Eric?
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. He might rather talk about that than to talk about like, hey, your offensive line just got kind of manhandled for a game, like not against the best defensive line you've even faced this year, probably. What's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll have answers to that. He'll have answers for what happened with him and Mahomes, and I think honestly. I think he's going to tell us most of the truth. Not all the truth, but I bet we're going to hear most of the truth from Eric Bieniemy on that. I don't know if he knows what the truth is on the offensive line.
Tex says, was the special teams really that bad, or was it just two people, Sky and a dude who's now on the street? Well, I think the guy who's now a free agent is a part of it, and I think Sky is a part of it, but Pacheco struggled, and decisions that he made struggled. 2 yards deep in the end zone, brings it out and fumbles, slips and falls at the 10-yard line. From the 1-yard line at the end of the game when there were 24 seconds, you've got to know just go straight ahead, get as much yardage as you can. But for him to stop and then retreat and then run right and waste time, that's a mistake. And Chris Lamons caught the ball at the 11-yard line that had weird. A huge bounce that was going to keep rolling.
That second bounce can be funky. You ever bounce a bouncy ball down the hallway? That second bounce, it'll take off sometimes. In real time, that's what I was thinking about the bouncy ball effect. Yeah, well, but it's a weird thing for your special teams ace to not try to get 10 more yards of field position there.
Yes, absolutely. And he's fast enough to then beat the ball to the end zone and wait for it, at the 1-yard line. And so, I think there were a number of different things that were head scratchers in the game, special teams wise. The fake field goal as well, what went on with that. I think Dave Tobe, can speak to that if that was a call, if that was a fire call, because even this morning with Gary Dieter saying, I'm not sure if that was a call or did Tommy sort of bobble it just for a second and yell fire because maybe you don't trust that. Maybe with Harrison Butker, you bobble it, you put it down and you feel good, but with Matt Amendola, you bobble it a little bit, fire, and then Gray gets out and that's the one guy you have running.
Andy Reid said I probably shouldn't have called that. So
right.
and maybe Tobe will tell us today, maybe Reid felt like that would have been throwing Townsend under the bus. I don't think it would be. I think if he bobbled it, honestly, I think that might be a nice way out for Tommy Townsend. Also, Noah Gray was looking for the ball pretty early. I don't know. I think that text is a good question, though, because very often we say bad coaching job, and it's really two guys bleeped up. Yeah. There's something to that. But what I want to hear from Tobe more than anything today is why those two guys were in the positions they were in. Yeah. Not that Sky Moore needs to be justified in that spot, because I think it makes sense. You think he's your best returner. You don't think he's going to bobble a ball looking into the sun in Indianapolis every single week. That's not an assumption to make. I don't think he needs to go up and defend his choices, but I want to hear why he believed Sky Moore was the right guy. Does he still? Why he believed Matt Amendola was the right guy. Why he wasn't. Those are the type of things that I want to hear from Dave Tobe is just to put that game into more context. He's not the one that dropped the punt. I don't think that he told Sky Moore to just muff it for fun. But I want to know, it would be very strange. But I want to know how he feels about all of that, and particularly, we've used this phrase a lot, but all of the growing pains on even a young special teams, because it really is compared to his previous groups. And that's on him to make it work.
Well, and there's look, Amendola made the kicks against the Chargers, they won the game.
Yep.
And he missed the kicks against the Colts, they lost the game. It doesn't help that somebody you had in for the workout with Amendola that you did not choose was on the other side for the Colts and made two pretty big kicks that were tougher than the ones that Amendola, the extra point and the easy field goal that he missed. That guy you chose not to sign. The Colts signed him, and then you end up losing that game by 3 because that guy makes a couple of field goals. But, regardless, now they got somebody else in, and it'll be questions about, okay, what about Harrison Butker? Yep. Can Justin Reed kick off and Butker just take his one-step field goals? Because I trust Harrison Butker taking one-step kicking field goals than I do the Matthew Wright or the Matt Amendola or anybody else of the world that is unemployed right now. I'll take Butker with one step. He nailed a 50-plus yarder taking one step. I'll trust that guy. So we'll see what happens. By the way, the text says when you said the Chiefs lost by jinxing the Chiefs, and said and the day we're celebrating his 8th birthday too. So I can understand why he'd be crying. Why isn't he in school?
Yeah, Hey, let's question the parenting job here.
Yeah,
maybe it was just by extension when I made the Chiefs lose, the Chiefs loss made the kid cry, and now those tears are on my hands, metaphorically speaking. And that's something I'm gonna have to. That's on me. I'm gonna have to be better. I'm gonna have to get to make sure that those mistakes don't happen again. And with that, time's yours.
Yeah. All right. 913-912-4810 is the text line. So that's how the show lines up. Let's get into the show here today. 913-912-4810. So this is the first time the Chiefs have played the Bucs since that Super Bowl embarrassment. And we know a lot about why that game ended up being as embarrassing as it was with the offensive line, with the defensive line for the Bucs, and not being able to score a touchdown, which was really surprising in that one. Just never really got back into that. And, oh, by the way, we'll hear different clips from the Kelsey and Kelsey podcast, the New Heights podcast, which is really good. Love it. It comes out on Wednesday, so there's like 4 or 5 clips that I cut that were interesting for the show today. One of the clips I did not cut, they were talking about the Super Bowl halftime performances and Rihanna, and Travis Kelce started talking about the weekend performance when they were playing Tampa in the Super Bowl, and that he's like, we must have been like right underneath the stage because all we heard was this loud bass over and over. And he's like, we're frustrated. We're trying to get things together. We're not playing well. We're trying to figure this thing out. And all we're hearing is this loud bass over and over and over. And I hear that and I'm thinking, boy, how bad of a night really was it for the Chiefs? Like, they probably had one of the worst nights of their lives that night with how they played, and then halftime adjustments. They can't even get stuff together.
Guys, we got to do something here. This offense is totally lost. Guys, hello?
I can't imagine, enough! I just want to concentrate. Everything's struggling. We can't get this going. We got multiple pass interference calls in the in that last drive. That's BS. They're screwing us. We are better than this team. Get it together. And all you're hearing is this music playing in the background. While I'm guessing the Bucs are probably going, yeah, we got their ass. Yeah, we know what we're doing versus them. They're dancing.
Yes, that's absolutely what it is.
In their locker room at halftime.
The Buccaneers are, ooh. That's how Blinding Lights goes. I needed to look up the lyrics to jog my memory. Yeah. Tom Brady just vibing. You know what though? I listened to that episode.
Tom Brady dance?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Just right on your grave. This is the first episode of that show that I've listened to the entire way through of New Heights.
Me too.
Because the clips have been good, and look, man, I mean, there might be some hypocrisy in how we felt about the Tyreek Hill podcast, how we feel about the Kelsey podcast. If you're wondering about the hypocrisy, here's the real key. Kelsey podcast is good.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
It's casual, but like you hear stuff from them that you're hearing the way they talk, like when they started talking about Tua and the concussion stuff, they had a brief moment of like being very jovial and joking about it in the way that you would think happens in the locker room. And then they had stories about like their own concussion scares and how genuinely fearful you are in those moments, how tough it is for your family. Then they went and told a story about, did I jump in? I won't pay that one off. I saw that one's on the sheet here now. Okay. I won't go any further on the actual stories of it. But like the concussion part, that clip's 2.5 minutes. We're never going to get to that in today's show anyway. It's,
all right, let's
it's
play
cute that you cut it. But like that was the example for me of just the no pun intended here, the whiplash back and forth between how they talk about things in the gallows humor to taking it seriously to all of the things that come from that. I don't know. Show's been fun though, and gives you a little bit of insight that you don't get to see from that exact perspective very often. Here's what you just said. Just crack this open for me though. The whole Eric Bieniemy halftime conspiracy theory from the I think we can derail these by reverse engineering the halftime shows from the Super Bowl. We have to go figure out because there was some sort of halftime entertainment in the AFC Championship game against the Bengals. There had to be. The NFL's not doing conference championship games without some sort of event. So I'm gonna see if we can.
Country singer?
Was that
that's right.
Was that Applebee's? That might have been the Applebee's guy.
Oh yeah, that would have pissed me off too.
Oh man. Okay, so here's my theory.
And when you're Cincinnati, when the best thing you have is Skyline, they probably go to Applebee's a lot.
Absolutely.
So they were loving it.
They are fancy like Applebee's.
That was their jam. In Cincinnati, the Queen City, they are fancy like Applebee's. Whereas Chiefs players are like, man.
Good poll, Beards. So it is Walker Hayes did the halftime performance at the AFC Championship game, and remember, it totally washed out the halftime show. We couldn't hear what anybody was talking about because they were at the table mic'd up, and all you could hear in the background was, sorry to keep going to this bit for the open today, but it was, it was like totally unlistenable.
I want to see if I can find the audio for that again.
Totally unlistenable, unlike that song originally. I actually also do have it, Beards. Just Google any of those terms and their tweets with it all.
Google any of Applebee's.
I'll send you a direct tweet here because
first thing that comes up.
Yeah, just Google directions to the nearest Applebee's. I think we might be able to now realize how the halftimes when the Chiefs cannot hear themselves think, maybe that's the cause of the halftime show. Walker Hayes was the culprit here.
Yeah.
Not the Bengals defense, not Patrick Mahomes, not Eric Bieniemy, not Andy Reid. Fancy like.
Yep. And
checkmate.
You've got the Bengals players that it's speaking right to the heart of their city.
Fancy
and
like
Chiefs
Applebee's
players that are
night.
frustrated going, man, we got plenty of other things to talk about besides fancy like an Applebee's.
We are not fancy like an Applebee's at all right now.
No, that last play was not fancy like an Applebee's. That was not fancy at all.
I don't want to just totally tell anybody off. If you're listening right now, you're allowed to like this song.
Oh, that's fine. Whatever.
But I need everyone to know
catchy.
that I need everyone to know that I hate it as much as I've ever hated a song. I think
it's a catchy tune.
It is catchy. I remember the hook of it.
I understand why people would sing along to it.
It's absolutely. The lyric, "She wanna dip me like I'm them fries in her frosty," makes me wanna barf.
So
not the Frosties and the fries, Walker Hayes and the Frosty.
I'm not saying this is Walker Hayes or that song. I'm not saying that at all, okay? But at the Super Bowl, we talked with Brooks from Brooks and Dunn. And I don't even remember their main big song that that everybody would probably know Brooks and Dunn.
I was just really glad when you talked to him because I did not have any Brooks and Dunn knowledge to work off
I
of.
had some.
You had a little more than I did.
And when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, I know that song. Okay, I know that song.
Neon Moon, Believe.
No.
That Ain't No Way to Go.
No, like they're...
My Maria.
No, they're biggest...
Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. There you go.
There you go. Boot, Scoot, and Boogie.
I was just reading music video titles.
Boot, Scoot, and Boogie.
There you go.
And somehow we got... we were talking sports. He was incredibly entertaining, by the way. Like, I really enjoyed the... I wasn't looking forward to it. And then when we started, I'm like, oh, this guy's fun. This is great. And he said about Boot, Scoot, and Boogie, and I'm not saying this is about Walker Harris or whatever his name is. He said...
I'm not going to correct that one. I want to get his name wrong forever.
Yeah. Kix Brooks said that when he went to his manager and played the song, his manager said, "You finally made a song bad enough to be a hit." and it was like... And he joked about it, and he was like... he's like, that's not even a song we really like. It's like we have so many other songs we like, but that's the song. That's the song everybody knows. And it just reminded me of you don't like the Applebee's, but it's the hook that everybody remembers. And it just reminded me of Chiefs-Bucs saying, you finally wrote a song that's so bad that people will like.
It's really good.
You finally wrote a song so bad it's a hit.
That's a really good line.
It's perfect, man. And again, Chiefs-Bucs was really entertaining in that conversation.
There's no Solomon Wilcots, but I mean, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Thank God.
Chiefs-Bucs was able to admit some faults. He was able to admit when there were some shortcomings.
Sure.
Even his own huge hit was able to say, yeah, not really our best work, but you know what? Got us on the map. Therefore, we can do some other things and some other songs that we really liked playing and writing and messages and things like that. Whereas Solomon Wilcots is like, nobody could ever beat the Bengals. They'll never lose again. It's the greatest team ever constructed. And anybody that says anything different, then you are stupid and there's no such thing as an upset. Every team that wins is the better team and deserved to win that particular game. There is no set, even 16-1. Even Virginia losing, not an upset.
That one's true.
Even St. Peter's over Kentucky, not an upset. St. Peter's better than Kentucky. Everybody knows this. What was that audio like there, Beards?
At halftime report, the official 5G network of the NFL Verizon. I'm James Brown along with
Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Walker Hayes.
Oh, Walker Hayes, not Walker Harris.
And he's burning them.
The question is, the answer is time. That's what Patrick Mahomes.
And that was like 15 minutes. Let's go!
Yeah, we got the whole song. It was like being inside the speaker.
But it is interesting to hear that at the Super Bowl, that's what the Chiefs were experiencing in their locker room, trying to make their adjustments at halftime. So.
Really, genuinely interesting. At least it was the weekend and not that, because if I was doing a Sports Center or something on this show and you were just blasting, if Beard's just blasting Fancy Like behind me, not only do I think I would not be able to get through the Sports Center and I'd probably say the Royals are playing on a day that they're not, They're
playing today.
I would probably go fight Beards with my bare hands. Like, I don't think I could.
Good for you.
I don't think I could stand for that.
Yeah,
I think I would have a meltdown.
Do what you got to do,
like the
man.
Chiefs did in the Super Bowl and in the AFC Championship game and in several high-profile games recently and last week. Now I'm sad again.
Okay.
Sorry to that guy's 7-year-old.
Eliminating halftime
They're 8,
performances.
now they're even more sad because you forgot what age they are.
And now they're celebrating the birthday of this 8-year-old kid. So yeah,
Happy birthday, kid.
I think most everybody during that halftime show was. I love the tweets of like, I've never been more excited for the weekend to be over than right now. I just want the weekend to be done. Oh my goodness. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Shaq Barrett had some thoughts on the Chiefs' offensive line. Patrick Mahomes was asked about that, and he gave his response, which I think the length of the response from Patrick Mahomes is probably more telling than the actual words. So we'll hear from that. And then a number of clips from the Kelsey New Heights podcast, which was really good. He weighed in on what he called embarrassing, the loss to the Colts. He weighed in on his issues and why they lost and his responsibility he's taking with that. He talked about Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy. And then he talked about the concussions, the Titans game, the Texans game that he's gone through in his life. And I cut and really enjoyed just their talk about Batman. And I almost want to grab Shane and bring him in here when we play the Batman clip of Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey just for S's and G's. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This is a guy through the first 3 quarters of the game had a quarterback rating of. Oh, now I lost that.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, hanging out here on this Thursday edition of The Zone. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock.
For the second consecutive day, I've seen that you texted me at about 9:45 asking for topic ideas, and I didn't see that until literally just now.
It's not a big deal. I'll just do the show by myself from now on.
That's sort of how I've been operating to this point. I feel like it's been going well.
Why put our heads together and think of different things and different topics and things like that that people want to talk about?
You gave me a full 14 minutes, and I really squandered that, so I apologize.
I just sort of assume that you've got a number of things, and then we come together and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what you're thinking, boom. Let's not talk about it off the air, because why would we do that? Let's be organic on the air and discuss those things, just as when I was talking about the plays that I saw that the Chiefs were open except for the offensive line, you then offer, I got a little curveball to that.
Here's a little curveball.
I don't want to know what it is.
No, exactly.
Let's talk about it on the air.
Let's save it.
Awesome.
No, we're pretty good at organic and sort of merging our angles together and everything. I just would like to get into the habit of responding to your texts.
Don't worry about
earlier.
It. You know what? People, it's turnabout's fair play. People talk about my.
That's a good point.
Slow response.
You're
with
now
texting.
You're now up 25-2, but that's 2 days in a row for me.
That's exactly
I blew
right,
the shutout these last 2 days.
Yeah,
so,
I'm like when Matt Derrick was having the battle against, what was his name, Gorman?
Yes, Vitaly Gorman.
Vitaly Gorman is who was going to show up first. Now it's 25-2. I'm leading by 23 in not responding in a prompt enough manner.
Absolutely.
To said text.
You're the Vitaly Gorman of not responding to text, and I'm just trying to be the Matt Derrick.
Badass. Love it. All right, so Shaq Barrett was asked yesterday as the last time these two teams faced off was in the Super Bowl, and it was not a good day for the Chiefs' offensive line. It was a great day for the Bucs defense and defensive line. So the question is included in this with Shaq Barrett talking about this Chiefs offensive line.
How different is this Chiefs offensive line from the one you guys faced in the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
I think I really don't think it's too much of a difference. I think we have a lot of favorable matchups. I think we have an opportunity to really dominate the game as long as, I just think, we got an opportunity to really impose our will as pass rushers, edge rushers this game, and we could really have a coming out party. I know we had 6 sacks the other game, but we could really have a coming out party as edge and as edge defenders in the position group for this game.
When he was laughing, it kind of sounded like he wanted to be like, let me tell you about what we think is going to happen in this game. Yeah, this offensive line, you saw what the Colts did. We're about to eat. This is going to be Eagles v. Commanders. I'm talking about 9 sacks. Coming out party for this defense. So that took place before the Chiefs had their press conference. So Patrick Mahomes was able to respond, and I believe the question is included with this one as well, with Patrick Mahomes and Shaq Barrett. If it is not included, Patrick Mahomes, it isn't. This is like a 6-second clip, so it's not included. He was just asked, hey, here's what Shaq Barrett said. He said the offensive line doesn't look much different than the one in the Super Bowl, and he thinks their defensive line is going to have a coming out party against your offense and offensive line. What do you got to say to that, Patrick?
Yeah, man, I trust those 5 guys that we have out there. I feel like we have one of the best offensive lines in the league, and we'll go in there with that mindset.
6 seconds.
Not edited. That's what it sounded like live.
6 seconds. That was it. He doesn't typically answer things that are only 6 or 7 seconds. He spends a little bit of time. He tries to be, I think, thoughtful while being robotic and a quarterback, and quarterbacking the answers. Not necessarily like when you would call it like, hey, you're filtering things. He's quarterbacking. Mm-hmm. He's quarterbacking the answers. He does that a lot, but he's still like talking about Eric Bieniemy. It was like 1 minute and 20 seconds. Right. Talking about other parts of the game, and this Chiefs team's like 40, 45 seconds, a minute. This was 6 seconds. I think we learned everything that we want to know about the way the Chiefs are thinking about that comment from Shaq Barrett and their offensive line, and responding to the Colts and getting ready for the Bucs, in the fact that was a 6-second clip.
The one thing I would add is that I believe that Shaq Barrett quote started getting tweeted out like moments before like Andy Reid's presser began. So I bet Mahomes had not. I think that might have been legitimately the first time he was hearing of it and didn't have all of the full context and all that. With that being said, I expected, as I heard the question being asked, I expected a longer answer about the Chiefs' offensive line or whatever it was, the trust and expanding on all that. The other element of it is I don't know how much he does really trust those 5 guys in front of him right now. Like the current, when I read the clip yesterday, that was the first time I heard the audio from Shaq Barrett. When I read it when we were live yesterday, my first thought was, well, they totally overhauled this offensive line. Like literally every position is different than in the Super Bowl. Andrew Wiley's just back over on the right side again.
Yeah.
Totally different. It is what's the ship if you replace all of the planks in one ship? Is it still the same ship? I don't remember what that is.
Ship of Theseus, I think.
Thank you. That is absolutely what it is. Was that in Watchmen or something? I'm trying to figure out where that was in pop culture recently.
WandaVision.
That's right. It was in WandaVision.
It's not that you read it or learned it in school. It's from watching WandaVision.
No, I heard it
Beautiful.
mentioned recently.
No,
I knew there was a pop culture touch point for it. But yeah,
it's brilliant. That is brilliant.
The Chiefs' offensive line is sort of the ship of Theseus. If you're Shaq Barrett, he believes that it is still the same ship. And I'm saying the only plank that was there in the Super Bowl is now the right tackle plank, being Andrew Wiley.
Wasn't he on the right side though in the Super Bowl, and it was Rimmers on the left side?
Oh, hold on. You're right.
So I do.
You're
think,
right. One plank's in the same spot.
But 4 of the 5 are completely different.
I was thinking they moved Wiley to left and kept Rimmers
no, because
right. But I think you're right.
They moved Wiley from guard.
100%.
Because Rimmers was right tackle and Fisher was left tackle.
Because I had to spend the next year saying, hey, I actually think Mike Rimmers is a pretty good right tackle. He was just out of position in the Super Bowl. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
So one plank is still there in Theseus's ship. But here's the thing. If you watch the offensive line against the Colts and you wiped all the numbers, everybody was just a black and white, like in a practice jersey, you would start to have some similar questions about like, hey, so they did fix this offensive line at some point, right? Now, I think that is largely for Trey Smith, largely injury. For Orlando Brown, I think he's got high expectations that he has underperformed in some instances. I also think he's hurt. I think his worst clip, he got out of his stance really quick and stepped on Noah Gray's foot last week. That, unfortunately, is the low light of his Chiefs career, and I'm not sure it's his fault if Noah Gray gets out of his stance a little quicker. All that to say, on paper, this offensive line is tremendously different. In practice, I am more worried about it than I have been since the Super Bowl. This is the most worried I've been about the Chiefs' offensive line in a game, not in an offseason, but in a game since the Super Bowl. That part, I think, is at least a little more fair than I was going to give Shaq Barrett credit for.
And in the game, we'll take a break. I want to hear some Kelsey clips as well. In that game, it wasn't just this guy one-on-one won the battle because, whether it was Trey Smith or Tooney or Orlando Brown or Andrew Wiley or Creed Humphrey, that, hey, they just whooped that guy. I think there were a number of times that the Chiefs got confused with whether it was stunts or somebody getting a corner or getting the hip and the shoulder just a little bit past in being able to turn that and not being able to recover, because there were a couple plays where Mahomes was pressured that it was a stunt and somebody came free. So it wasn't exactly like it was straight up the middle, but it was pretty quick. There were some where the guys just got beat, just simply went past them. But one in my mind that sticks out is watching it from the end zone view. It was Jerick McKinnon and Andrew Wiley, and Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey had their guys. Andrew Wiley had his guys. So it's from the end zone view behind Patrick Mahomes, and they blitz a linebacker, and the linebacker is going towards Jerick McKinnon, but he veers off and just chucks Wiley. That was his job. His job is you're just taking Andrew Wiley out.
Wrecking ball for Andrew Wiley.
And the defensive end's coming around, but Jerick McKinnon's already moving to his right to take on the linebacker. So by the time the defensive end gets around, Jerick McKinnon is not in a position to block a defensive end. So he tries to get over there, and he's hitting the defensive end's side. You're not recovering from that. And it turns out to be a Mahomes turning around, reversing, doing one of those things. Great scheme.
When guys design. When they say great scheme, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we really this is a trenches problem, this is a media problem, whatever. We try, but it's hard to point to here's where a defensive line, offensive line scheme matters.
Yeah.
Usually just think names big guys, one-on-one, it is more complicated than that. That is a great example of what a scheme and a play call can do for a pass rush.
Thought it was odd. The guy just ran and just took out Wiley, just crushed him. And I'm like, it worked.
Yep.
It absolutely worked, because if he runs straight in, McKinnon's really good at pass protection. And McKinnon, I think, can hold him up because he's done that before. And maybe that's what they looked at and said, well, we're not going one-on-one against Jerick McKinnon. He's been good in pass protection. But what if we take out the right tackle and the defensive end maybe gets an edge on him? There's no chance he's going to recover from that. Great scheme. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
You might not be able to tell by the quality of the radio show, but I'm great.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, let's hear from Travis Kelce. Let's play the clip where lost to the Colts. I know it says a different team there. I labeled it wrong there, Beards. But Travis Kelce, the loss to the Colts, and his brother Jason asked him about that and them losing 20-17 to that team on Sunday.
The Kelces are no longer undefeated, thanks to Travis and the Chiefs losing their first game to the Colts, 17-20. Yeah, I had a feeling you might say that. First loss of the season. Travis, what is your analysis of the game and yourself?
I mean, it's just an embarrassing performance. On my end, I know I had at least 4 opportunities to come up big for my team just by catching the ball, let alone the effort plays and things that come along with just being a great teammate. I just got to catch the freaking ball, man. It's a great ball by Pat.
Why do you think you dropped it?
Lack of focus. That's the biggest thing. Trying to think of multiple things at once. And there's no excuse at all to why I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball because, well, my meaning to that is that I'm not going to say the sun. I'm not going to say, I don't care if the sun was right in my eye. I have to find a way to catch the ball. There's no excuse when it comes to that. My focus was just I had moved on from trying to catch the ball to making sure that my feet were down, and I just got to be able to lock in mentally and differentiate the two. You know what I mean? Catch the ball first, then what?
Which is interesting. I hadn't thought about that aspect of it until he said it, and then I went back and watched, and they showed the replay in the game. That's the full game. They showed the replay a number of different times, and as the ball is getting close to his hand, you can actually see his head start to move to the ground, and it makes total sense when he said, "I was already moving on to see where my feet were going to be in the end zone, and didn't catch it." Because I didn't catch that at the time. You know, you're like, wow, he just missed the ball, and he's mad at himself. And then he almost does like a gesture of like holding his hands, like, you know, catch the ball first. Might have just been catch the freaking ball. But his head starts to move towards the end zone or towards the back line of the end zone and looking down right as the ball is getting there. So makes sense. Concentration, first things first. Take care of that. Hopefully that's the case against the Bucs. Ken Swanson next.
Ready to change your life?
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You know what makes me nervous about today's show?
Where do we begin?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll hear from the Chiefs coming up later on this hour. Eric Bieniemy, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, and then whichever players will be at the podium as well. We'll find out that here in just a little bit. Play some sports or leisure later on this show as well in the 1 o'clock hour. Right now, let's talk to Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast, joining us here in the Zone. Kent, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
You know, I'm hanging in there. Still licking wounds from that Chiefs game that we all had to endure. But hey, we're recovering. At least the Chiefs are playing a good football team this week. That's exactly what they need, right?
Absolutely, yes. You want a get healthy game against a Tom Brady team. So no worries or concerns with that at all. We'll look back at the Colts game here in just a little bit, but one of the things that I'm having trouble with this game this weekend is just simply getting a feel at any feel whatsoever about this game. Have you developed one? Do you have an idea or a feel of what this game will look like or play like or anything like that so far as we're just a few days away now?
Not in the slightest. I am right with you, buddy. This is just such a bizarre game because I don't think the Chiefs are as bad as they played against the Colts last week. But there's enough question marks about Orlando Brown Jr.'s knee, which it seemed to Andy Reid seemed to indicate was probably part of the reason he played so poorly. And how this offense is gelling, and if they're going to be able to handle the physicality of Tampa. I just don't feel good about this game in any capacity. I just don't know what we're going to see, and I think there's like a wide range of outcomes for how this game could go. Especially since I think the Bucs are probably in a similar boat with the Chiefs too. I don't think people know exactly what they are yet either.
Yeah, the Chiefs have their issues offensively that they showed against the Colts. The defense is good. You mentioned the offensive line there. So is there a question or wondering what the Chiefs will look like, just as the Chiefs are wondering what the Bucs may look like with health and responding? We have typically seen an Andy Reid team respond after some losses. And, last year they did have the 2-game losing streak when they lost to the Ravens, and then they ended up losing to the Chargers. But that Chargers game was odd because they came out and they were doing whatever they wanted against the Chargers. They just were then turning it over. They would get down inside the 10, turnover. Down inside the 15, here's a fumble. Driving in field goal range, and it's an Edwards-Helaire fumble. And so you had all of those things happen, and yet you still had, a tie or a lead late in the game. They end up losing in that one. And they respond against Philly. They then struggle against Buffalo. They respond in the second half against Washington, and then they're awful against Tennessee. And they don't really turn it on again until later on in the season. This is an interesting part about this Chiefs team this year because this is obviously the only time, but the first time they can really respond to they're embarrassed. They feel terrible about it. They think they played an awful game. They don't think they are, bad enough to lose to that team. And now what do you do when you come out that next week? How do you get things back together and respond to that? And I'm expecting a response from the Chiefs and playing better than they did against the Colts. But what you talked about, I think, is still concerning, is you can want to respond all you want, but if Orlando Brown's knee is still bothering him and Trey Smith's ankle is still bothering him, you're going to have to find a way to get through a game against a good defense with those guys who are hindered and hampered a little bit when we know protecting Patrick Mahomes was an issue last week.
Sure, and I think the larger sample size of this football team has been not up to the typical standards of a Patrick Mahomes offense. Mm-hmm. We're sitting here, we're 3 games in, and that Cardinals game seems like fool's gold. The Cardinals look terrible. The Cardinals probably are terrible. And you've got 2 games now where it's been a slog for the Chiefs offensively. And, we talked about it when we were on 41 Action News. I think the 2 touchdowns for the Chiefs were short fields against the Colts. So, yeah, obviously I think this team wants to play better, but I don't think we know what better is. I still don't know if we know what this offense firing on all cylinders looks like against a good football team. So, yeah, I think you're going to get a better version of what you saw. You're going to get a better football team and a better football performance, I think, this week. But, man, I still don't know what that means.
So, Ken Swanson's our guest. We talked on Sunday in Sunday Sound Off, and we were asked who's more to blame for that Chiefs loss, is it special teams or is it offense? And besides the answer being yes, pick one of the two. I went special teams with a number of different points that were left on the board. You chose offense as to why that was the biggest reason they lost. Why if you want to restate, but if you still feel that way a number of days later and watching the game again, why in your mind offense being the biggest issue in that game as to why they lost as opposed to the special teams errors that happened?
Yeah, I don't want to diminish the special teams, but
right.
This team is built around their high-powered offense, around having one of the 5 best offenses in football. And this offense is going to be the thing that masks deficiencies throughout the season here and there at other spots. That's the model, that's the formula for this team, and that's always been the formula for this team with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And so, yes, there are special teams issues that happen, but, I mean, the offense is – when this team is what we expect them to be, the offense masks those special teams issues. It's supposed to be a game where, there's been a lot of games over the last 5 years of 4.5 years, 4 years of the Patrick Mahomes era where you say, yeah, I mean, thank God the offense is what it is. Or, hey, look, the defense didn't play great. Or, hey, look, they made some key special teams mistakes they don't always make, but at least the offense is what the offense is. And, at least they escaped there with a win. That is one of those games. The game that you just saw is one of those games where the offense is supposed to just do enough to mask all the deficiencies of the rest of this team, because there's going to be some issues here. We talk about the youth on special teams. Well, yeah, that's because of the way this team is pivoted. But this offense is supposed to be the thing that carries them. And when they don't carry them, I'm not going to blame the other factors on this football team. This is a team that needs to hum at all cylinders offensively if they're going to achieve what we all think they're capable of doing.
Ken Swanson's our guest. So a couple of ways of assessing the Colts game is, is there concern long-term for you in what happened in that game, or do we look back a month, 2 months, off season when the season is over and say, yeah, that was a strange hiccup that happened with the Chiefs against the Colts, but that wasn't anything that turned out to be ominous and signs moving forward. What, if you're guessing, what's the reaction and the view when we move to the future of this Colts game? Real issues, or kind of just one of those crazy games and any given Sunday?
I think there's some real issues there. I'm not trying to be too overreactionary. I think there's more issues on this team than we probably wanted to believe heading in. And I think, I'm a little disappointed to see the lack of, the lack of not understanding is not the right word. I don't think that the receivers are necessarily been put in a situation yet to kind of thrive. I don't think structurally this offense has the answers on how to utilize the Marquez Valdez-Scantling, how to, really do a good job of integrating all these new weapons. And I think that's the thing that gives me a little bit more concern than maybe I've had to this point in the season. I think they're going to figure a lot of stuff out. I think they're going to solve some of these problems, but I'm a little disappointed that we are where we are at, with this football team, with kind of how the offense is structured. So I think there's still plenty of time, don't get me wrong. And I think they'll figure some things out, but I think it's a little disappointing that they haven't been able to figure it out already, and they haven't been able to get off to a better start with the receivers that they have.
I went back and looked at all the different plays in the possessions that the Chiefs had, just to see that, is there separation being gained by the wide receivers? Are they blanketed and there's nothing Patrick Mahomes can do? And I looked specifically at the possessions in which they did not score. So the missed field goal, the fake field goal, the punts that took place in the game. And I found a number of plays in which there were receivers open, but it was just inopportune times for the offensive line to get beat. And when Patrick Mahomes says, on one play, it's one guy in the wrong spot or doing something. On another play, it's one guy here, and everybody's got to be working together. But essentially saying, like, just a tick off from here and there. But I found the receivers to be open generally on specific plays throughout those drives where those are drive changers, where, I think it's a touchdown to Justin Watson if Patrick Mahomes isn't immediately pressured right up the middle, and then he ends up throwing it to Justin Watson, and he's got to come back and he drops the ball. I think that's a touchdown if Mahomes isn't pressured. I think there's, some other plays that were chain movers and extending drives instead of ending up punting in that game. And so I came away less discouraged from the wide receivers, but I also came away wondering, is the offensive line struggling? Have they regressed? Or is there real issues on the injury front that it's one thing to say, Kent, we're going to respond, we'll bounce right back, and we'll be ready to go. It's another thing to say, yeah, you want to, but if your ankle's bothering you, Trey Smith, and your knee's hampering you, Orlando Brown, you can want to all you want, but your body's only going to allow you to do certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why there's so much mystery about what this football team is to this point, because it does feel like the offensive line has regressed. They have regressed. They're not playing well. I mean, but it's not just the guys that are injured. Like, that's the thing that's a little bit alarming to me. Everybody shares a piece of that offensive line issue. Yes, Trey Smith is struggling to move a little bit more laterally. So I think some of the games are giving him more problems than they have in the past. Some of those games up front that some people have been running, some of these teams have been running. Orlando Brown, he's awful. He was awful against the Colts. So, if it's the knee injury, then let's chalk it up to that. Good. Hopefully that knee gets right and he's able to, kind of be the guy that we know he's capable of being. But what's Joe Tooney's excuse? I think Joe Tooney's kind of it's been the worst kind of it's been probably the worst couple of games for him in a Chiefs uniform. So I think there's if the offensive line can get home, sure. Like, I think there's probably going to be some guys open. I still think that there's some questions about if this team's going to be able to consistently beat man coverage. And, some of these new guys, I don't know if that's, something that they're going to come out of. Like, those are the questions I have on that side of it too.
So the wide receivers have been a conversation all offseason and then through the first 3 weeks, obviously. But so the talk about those guys going down to Dallas and the relationship they're building and the chemistry and things like that. The last play of the game for the Chiefs that ended up being an interception, when I watched it live, I thought, okay, somebody's in there was way too much traffic there. It seemed to be way too congested for a play that would be designed that way, that Mahomes would then try to throw it and then stop himself and then, sort of half arm cocked throw the ball. Like, it wasn't I got the ball, I'm firing it in there. He was starting to and he had to stop. And then in the middle of stopping, then he threw it again, and it was to Juju Smith-Schuster. So I'm like, okay, what's the issue there? And I thought, well, there's you're running a hurry up, 2-minute drill type deal, and I know it's a timeout and all that stuff, but maybe Juju was just on the wrong page, and that's just what happens with a new guy. No, that was on Mecole Hardman, and that's really freaking frustrating because going back and looking at it, I believe Mecole Hardman was supposed to run and stop right in front of Juju Smith-Schuster, who was then running a quick in. And Mecole Hardman was supposed to run a quick, I'm going to stop right where Juju's man is, and Juju was going to come open on the slant, which is what Mahomes was going to fire and hit him. Only Mecole stopped and then started running across the field again, which made Mahomes stop his throw and then try to get it to Juju Smith-Schuster behind. Because as soon as that ball was intercepted, Juju turns around and looks right at Mecole Hardman and doing like an arm thing. What are you doing? And Mahomes is looking at Mecole Hardman as well. That can't happen. That's year 4 for this guy. And if Juju Smith-Schuster, who spent 10 minutes around Patrick Mahomes, knows the route that he's supposed to run, and Mecole Hardman breaks it off and isn't doing what he's supposed to do, and it results in an interception, now Amendola ain't making the field goal, all right? I have zero faith that he's going to make the field goal. But it would have been nice to see him attempt it if Mecole Hardman runs his route and Juju Smith-Schuster's there to make the catch. And maybe he doesn't. Maybe he drops it. I don't know. But we talk about wide receivers and guys doing certain things. That's unacceptable with a guy who's 4 years in the league and 4 years in this offense that just runs the wrong route. And you have Juju, the new guy, saying, dude, what are you doing? You've got to do this over there.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
It definitely looked like they were trying to get a little rub possibly into the flat. Like, I don't want to – I try not to speak super definitively all the time. But
I'll do it for you. I'll do it, and I'll be wrong, and I'll take the slings and arrows if it's like, no, that was on Juju or Mahomes or McColl did exactly what he was supposed to do. I'll wear it.
I'll let you make those statements. I agree. Like the route that Juju ran seemed to kind of indicate they might have been trying a little rub play potentially into the flat. You got me in coverage. There's a lot of space over there. You can get him into the flat down the sidelines if you're playing that man coverage. Doesn't look like they're really playing a safety necessarily over the top of that. So yes, that would have been a potentially nice play and a really nice play call, honestly, if it's executed in that situation. I think. It's not. Yeah. If Sky Moore is not seeing the field because of the confidence and trust that they have for a guy like McCole Hardman to be executing, for instance, I'll just use that as an example. That's problematic because I mean, I don't think McColl's played particularly. He didn't play particularly well. It sounds like he might have had a knee injury here or some kind of injury.
The heel. I think yeah.
But if you can't trust him to just do what he's going to do, then I would much rather see Sky Moore because I think I know despite the fumble in a very difficult situation to read a fumble, I think he's played outstanding, and I think he's shown some promise with the ball in his hands in the return game and in his limited opportunities on offense and throughout the preseason. So if you're going to run into those kind of mistakes, I'd play the better football player, who I think is Sky Moore, because that stuff can't be happening, and I think you've got a guy that can potentially, make an impact on this football team.
Ken Swanson's our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. The running game was inefficient, wasn't all that good against the Colts either. What are you seeing from the running game? Is it the offensive line like we talked about? Is it the running backs maybe not reading it or getting more that's blocked for them? Or is it just simply maybe activate Ronald Jones and see what he can do even though he's sick? Hopefully he's, back at practice, and maybe it's not an option this week with Ronald Jones. But what are you seeing as to why it's been as ineffective as it's been so far in these first three games?
It's all of it. I mean, that's such a cop-out answer, and I will say this too. It is, but I mean, I'll get through the list. But it's all first off, the Colts' defensive front is really good against the run. It's one of the few things that they do well. It's really great to know that the best run defense in football is coming up next week. That's great.
Cool.
It's fine. Everything's fine. I think the offensive line struggles is a little bit of that. Like, I think they should be a fair piece. And I think it's, the issues on the offensive line are not just pass protection. It's been their inability to run block. They've had some plays blown up. Grover Stewart is probably, he's an outstanding, interior tackle, and now they got to line up against Vita Vea, so I don't think you're going to see a ton of success there this week either. But I don't think the backs have seen everything cleanly. I think Clyde's missed some plays, not necessarily some of the ones that have been posted on social media either. I think there's just been some, there's been some missed yardage out on the field that they've definitely left out there. So there's that too. You like Isaiah Pacheco, but he's not necessarily seeing things particularly clean either. But at least he's a bull in a china shop, And so, some of the solution might, you talk about Ronald Jones, it might be a little bit more Isaiah Pacheco because, he doesn't always see the same, he doesn't see things as cleanly either. I don't think Clyde has either. But man, that dude's getting downhill with some violence at least. And, those are more tough yardages that he's getting. But, at least it's changing the line of scrimmage.
Visiting with Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. All right, enough of that stuff. Let's talk about the defense and what would have been the biggest takeaway and probably the conversation all week if they found a way just to put some more points on the board and win that game. It would have been about the way the defense is playing, holding the Chargers to 17 points, and then they give up the touchdown late when it's, they're up by 10 and all of that stuff. But and then what they did against the Colts, the 2 touchdown drives for the Colts was, a 3-yard touchdown drive, and then one that was extended by naughty words that were used by Chris Jones on a football field. What are you seeing from the defense, and do you think there's real real promise, and what we're seeing is a defense that's going to be playing like this, and maybe it's just the tip of the iceberg if these guys continue to get better and understand the defense a little bit more, and Spagnuolo can do a little bit more things. Is the defense as good as they have shown early on for you?
Yeah, I'm buying. I am buying stock in the Chiefs. I think it's great. I think they've done a lot of really, really good stuff to this point. It's been nice to see them be a little bit more, sophisticated in their pressures, being able to kind of get some of those pressures with such a young secondary. They've been manufacturing pressure, I think, a little bit more. I don't think they feel confident getting home with 4, but who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, you've got they're getting there, right? And you've got physical corners. You've got guys that are, willing to kind of, some bigger physical guys. Jalen Watson being in there helps. Obviously, I mean, Trent McDuffie's not a big guy, but he looked awesome in his limited reps trying to shut down AJ Green. Like, they've got enough athleticism, they've got enough physicality in the back end where they can be a little bit more, sophisticated with their pressures. So, I think, and they're getting home quick too. Like, I like what you're seeing out of this group. I think the defensive line, not to discredit them entirely, I think they've played really well. I think they've played extremely well, and Chris Jones definitely has these big stretches, and the stretches are pretty big now too, where he's playing just out of his mind for a good chunk of a game. That's huge. He looks a lot more comfortable than he did last year. I know they moved him around a lot more. Joe Cullen, I think, has been really good for Chris Jones because I think he's having probably his best year on his new contract. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about this team. You're going to get Willie Gay back here at some point too. You're going to get Trent McDuffie back at some point as well. Mike Dana, obviously that's another valuable add with all things considered. But yeah, I mean, I'm buying this. I think it's for real, and I think they've played outstanding. And I think the arrow's pointing up because this young group's going to continue to gel.
Yeah, 2 more weeks without McDuffie and Gay, and then against the Raiders. They will against the Raiders, they'll still have McDuffie out. So that would be then against the Bills, they would have McDuffie back. And then against who do they play after the Bills? Is that the 49ers at that point? Doesn't matter. Whoever is after the Bills is when they get Willie Gay back. But those guys not being there, certainly you add those guys into the mix and it can be even better. And one of the things that I've talked about and we've talked about in the offseason is how do you get the pressure percentage to match up with the actual sacks for this team, because that hasn't been the case. They've had good pressure in terms of percentage and what we're seeing comparatively to the rest of the league, but the sacks have continued to dwindle and go in the opposite direction. And this year they are second in pressure percentage as a defense, and they're 5th in sacks. It's actually matching up. And by the way, they're 8th in blitzing. So, you talked about that, manufacturing some pressure here and there. They're not just all out like Spagnuolo saying, let's just blitz the crap out of these guys. No, they're at 30%, and, the Bucs are at 33%, and the Cardinals are at 47% because apparently they just want to blitz everybody, including Mahomes. But that, to me, is a positive sign that the sacks are at least matching up with the pressures, that they're able to bring the guys down when they get there. And honestly, it hadn't even been from Karlaftis yet. And I think Karlaftis played really well.
Oh, yeah, I think he's had a great start to his rookie season. Like, I'm not dissatisfied in the slightest with him. I think he's played really, really well. Like, yes, the sack production hasn't been there, but he's affecting the quarterback. He's affecting plays. I believe he's got a pass deflection already to his name. Like, there are indicators outside of just sacks that make me feel good about what we've seen to this point. He's pressured the quarterback at a decent clip for and he did at least against the Cardinals. So his time's coming from a sack number perspective, but I think he's played against the run even. I think he's been a lot better. There's so many things to get excited about, like just the entirety of this rookie season, honestly, like a rookie class. I mean, they're looking strong, and if this class continues to be what we think it is, boy, that's a big win for the future of this team too, because that means the defense probably isn't going away for a while.
Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Last one. I know you said you have zero feel for this game. I'm with you, but if you got to make a prediction and a score in mind, what would you go with right now a few days before this thing kicks off?
I'm a little surprised that the Chiefs are favored in this game. I don't feel good about it for either team. I think it's going to be an ugly slog. Give me 24-23 Buccaneers.
24-23 Bucks. We'll see what happens in the game. Kent, you're the man. Appreciate the time. As always, sir, enjoy the football. We'll certainly be reading and listening over there at KC Sports Network and KC Laboratory Podcast. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Catch you guys later.
Absolutely. There's Kent Swanson. Again, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. You can go there, read all about what took place in the Colts and the film study that they do with the offense, the defense, and also looking ahead to some matchups with the Bucs coming up this weekend. And certainly looks like it's going to remain in Tampa. Josh?
No longer favored, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're getting point right now on DraftKings.
Okay. So they have gone, that thing has moved 3 points?
-1.5 to +1, I think is the thing I saw.
-2.5. Am I wrong about that?
I don't think I ever saw it at 2.5.
Okay.
Not to say it never was.
I think I saw a tweet from Curtis earlier where he said it would move 3.5.
Yeah, so...
there you go. 3.5 points in 2 days, Bucks that one.
I have not adjusted the line on our format since Monday's show. And Monday it's listed as -2.5. So at DraftKings it was 2.5 on Monday.
It's
so
now +1.
Whew.
I don't know why that movement is happening.
But here's the thing. Last week that didn't matter at all. All the money, all the sharps coming in and putting the money on the Colts. Didn't matter at all. They were all wrong. Damn it. They weren't. Although, were they? Were they not? I mean, did they predict a Sky Moore fumble?
That's the thing, man. I'm not ready to give sharps credit for Sky Moore botching a muff punt and them having a non-professional kicker. I don't know. The kicker could have played into it a little bit.
Kicker has to play into it, though, right?
But not to the level of point cost that it ended up bringing the Chiefs. And really, again, Sky Moore fields a punt. This game probably goes completely differently last week.
Yeah, I mean, it was Colts plus the points. I didn't see many people saying Colts money line,
right?
Because it ended up 5.5, and then they lose by 3. So I don't think many people said this line is 8.5 points off. It's a wrong team favored. Not the case, but wow, that's interesting. 2.5 to now Chiefs getting 1, which is honestly what I thought it would open up as, is that the Bucs would be favored. But we'll see. Maybe that's an indication of what they feel like could be health-wise, where Donovan Smith, Julio Jones, and Chris Godwin all practiced yesterday. Limited, but they still practiced. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Just right on the verge of nailing it.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Josh Brisco, Beards. Thank you to Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. We will hear from the coordinators along with Travis Kelce. Who else is talking? Just Kelce?
Coordinators and Kelce is what I've seen.
Coordinators and Kelce.
Have
it's
you?
It's an alliteration Thursday.
Have you seen this Josh McDaniels story going around on Twitter right now?
I have not, but I'm interested in it.
Tyler Columbus, I think 8-year offensive lineman who would have played for McDaniels back in Denver, tweeted out this thread this morning. In honor of Raiders Week, I present a thread about my favorite Hurricane Josh McDaniels stories.
Does he still play, or does he used to play?
No, he's a former Beards.
Okay.
Did Josh Reads the Internet make it to the zone?
I can get it pulled up here real quick.
I think I can get this in enough time to get us back out in time for pressers and whatnot. But yeah, this is from Tyler Columbus, Super Bowl 50 champion. He was on that Broncos team apparently.
Okay.
8-year NFL veteran.
And now, Josh reads the Internet.
Thank you, Beards.
Thank you, Curtis.
After trading away the young nucleus of our offense, including Jay Cutler, Josh said to the entire team, quote, "Fellas, don't worry about the QB situation. I can turn a high school QB into an all-pro." After completing training camp with fully padded two-a-days as often as was legal, he hyped up a special reward after practice. It was an ice cream truck and a t-shirt that said Iron Man. Our reward was ice cream. Thanks for the creamsicle. Every single day began with a 10-minute bad football reel from the day before where he would dog cuss you out and your coach for any bad play from practice 24 hours ago. Set the tone for a real positive day in front of the entire team. We had about 25 slogans painted on the walls. God forbid you forget what the slogan was above the door entering the cafeteria. Josh would call players out in a team meeting and ask what each slogan said. If you forgot a single word, bleep chewing. After the season, I had an exit interview with my coach. He spent 10 minutes telling me everything I sucked at, but he looked so depressed and miserable that when he was done, I didn't care what he said about my play. I was concerned for him. Quote, "Coach, are you all right?" Response, "That's a hard man to work for." Me, "So are you coming back?" Coach, "Hell no." Me, "You getting fired or leaving?" Coach, "I don't care, but I'm getting the hell out of here." These are just scratching the surface. Maybe I will share a few more before the game this weekend.
Wow.
Good luck, Vegas. Good luck, Raiders. That's your man right there. Maybe he learned something, you know? Maybe he learned something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of learning that went on.
But if he wants to go coach the Chargers next and do a whole AFC West tour, I'd sign up for that right now if I was the Chiefs.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it. He's one team away from that tour of the AFC West.
Wow.
Just stay the hell away from here.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, Clark Hunt, I know you're listening.
Yes.
Big fan of the Zone. Just whenever Andy's done, don't make that phone call.
Yeah, Clark listens every day, or he checks us on the podcast. So
big podcast guy.
Oh yeah,
Clark. He likes to listen to us at double time speed, which is crazy for this show in particular. But he's a quick listener.
You got to be able to process very quickly. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the coordinators and Kelce coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
The horn just blew. Can I, does that mean I'm done?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll head out to practice facilities when the coordinators and Kelsey get to the podium. We'll hear from Dave Tobe, Eric Bieniemy, Steve Spagnuolo, and also Travis Kelsey. Good morning. Is it still morning? Is it still morning?
Probably going to be afternoon.
Is it still morning? I don't know.
Haven't started yet.
I don't know. It all runs together. Go ahead. I don't really have anything for you. Just go ahead.
You know, happy with how the defense played this week, but that'll open it up.
But, yeah, that's all I got. Just go ahead. Fire away. So we'll hear from them coming up here in just a little bit. Also, Kelsey podcast that was dropped yesterday, and good stuff. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, but really entertaining stuff there. We've got about 3 or 4 other clips that we were planning on playing, and we may still get into to that. We'll just depend on what Kelsey says today at the podium. He may say some of the things that he said in the podcast yesterday that we'll just simply hear live. So we'll do that. And coming up at 1 o'clock, we got Sports or Leisure that we will get into. It's presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 we give away to Johnny's Tavern. If you get Sports or Leisure right, get a sports question, get a leisure question, you win. There will be a Chiefs v. Brady category on the sports side. Let people know that. Yeah.
Okay.
So a number of questions about Chiefs versus Brady. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions there about specifically games in which the Chiefs matched up, faced off against Brady, or stats that were accumulated in said contests versus a Brady quarterbacked team. So we've got that category.
Along those lines, I do have a report following an earlier story that the Zone has been on today, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I have not been able to pinpoint a halftime performer, but Melissa Etheridge sang the national anthem before the AFC Championship game between the Chiefs and Patriots.
Okay.
The Chiefs eventually lost. So not quite the smoking gun of the weekend of the Applebee's guy, but Melissa Etheridge, I got to be honest.
She's a big Chiefs fan, though.
I know.
Big Chiefs fan.
But I think she's got to consider what her role in that game was. Just saying that's something to keep an eye on.
Ronald Jones is still out sick today, so that's unfortunate. So we'll see, if he returns tomorrow or if he's active. Probably one more week of being inactive. So probably go in game number 4 with the same running backs you've been going into the games with having 3 running backs active.
I thought Kent made a good point also. I know you personally hate Isaiah Pacheco in a way that I can't fully understand, maybe spurred on by your love of Jerick McKinnon. But if it's not going to be more Ronald Jones, I would like to see Pacheco get more touches in the offense.
Here's Dave Tope.
But one's turf, a possibility, one's grass. You have a kicker you're kind of trying to work with. How do you do all that? Because I know you're, for detail, I mean, you've even gone to the Royals when there could be dirt there, so I know the turf is very important.
That's a good question.
How do you prepare when you aren't quite sure which kind of field you're going to be on?
We're preparing for the grass right now. I'd be surprised if they move the game, from everything that I'm hearing, but I'm not in the know, but just rumors. So we're ready for the grass. If it's turf, it's turf. We'll be fine. It's not going to have an effect on Butker or the other kicker anyway, which one it is, so it doesn't really matter.
Do you have a feel for Butker?
Yeah, he had a real good day yesterday. He came out and he kicked, and then the other kid did well too. So we still got to wait and see. He's a little sore today, so we're not going to kick him today. We're trying to get him ready for the game. So we're just going to listen to the trainers and whatever they say, we're going to do it. And it's going to come down right to the end until we have to make that decision who's going to be up and down.
So you're not less optimistic about him now than you were at this time yesterday, even though he's not?
I'm not less optimistic. No, it's a normal. I mean, he hasn't done anything, as far as kicking, but as much kicking as we did yesterday than he, for a while now. So that's why he's sore. Okay. It's not unusual for him to be sore from the workout we did yesterday.
What tells you if you need to go with Matthew Wright that he'll do?
Feedback from Butker. We might kick him again before Sunday. We'll test him again. But the other kid's doing well.
No, I mean if you need to kick with Matthew Wright in the game.
If we need to kick with him, yep.
What tells you
that he can do it?
You could trust him maybe more than.
Well, we brought 2 guys in to work out. He was the one that was better. Either of the 2 guys that we brought in were at the other 6 men that we brought in 2 weeks before. These are 2 different players that had experience, game experience, more game experience, and Matt did a real good job in his workout. He had a great workout yesterday.
I know it worked well with in game 1 with Reed, but was there any thought to the process of having him kick? And would you do so this time?
He's strictly an emergency guy. He can kick off. We feel comfortable that he can kick off if we need it. But as far as a field goal kicker, it's the operation, it's the amount of percentages that he would make the kicks is lower than a NFL kicker that gets paid to do it.
So when you talk about emergency situation.
Emergency, like if.
No. I get that. No,
total emergency.
My follow-up question was, you obviously had Sky Moore returning kicks as far as I know. I don't think he's done it in his career. Is there any thought process to, if McCall is healthy, putting him back there?
Yeah, if McCall's ready to go, he's a possibility. But Sky is a guy that I really believe will be a good punt returner. We're sticking with Sky. We like Sky. If you noticed, he finished with a 12-yard return. He wants to do it. He's not hiding from it. I mean, he wants to be the guy. So he made a mistake. Mistakes happen with young players. And coach sticks with guys. I stick with guys. They make mistakes. We're coaches. We got to get them better. I mean, that's our job. and I really believe that he is going to be a really good punt returner in this league.
What about Pacheco? Were you inclined to stick with him as well?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Pacheco slipped. He made a hard cut and he slipped and fell. Other than that, we got to block it up better on those other returns. We were close. If you go back and look at the tape and really look at it, you'll see it. There was a lot of good things that happened in that game. Tommy Townsend had an excellent game, which we're real proud of him that he's also named AFC Player of the Week. So of the month, that's right, of the month. So it's pretty impressive.
What was just the frustrations of the several things that didn't go right?
Well, I mean, sometimes bad plays happen. You have to try to come back and make another good play. It didn't really happen for us. We weren't able to get over the top and have a good play, a positive play, besides the punts that happened there. I mean, which was real good. We just didn't get a good kick return, didn't get a good punt return. We got the 12-yarder, but and then obviously the fake field goal didn't work. So we tried to make a play.
Dave, it feels like it kind of snowballs on you at a certain point. I mean, is that?
It snowballs, but you got to.
In a way, but it also
Yeah, they're unrelated. It was a rare game. It's something that obviously we don't want to have happen, obviously, but usually a bad play, you can follow it up with some good plays. We've done that before in the playoffs. So we had two bad plays, and we came back and made 3 great plays. That's what we were expecting. The thing about our guys, there's a lot of pride in that room, and I know they're going to respond the right way.
Dave, the fake field goal, how much of that had to do with, hey, we think this play can work, and how much of it was?
Most of it was.
We just didn't trust the kicker.
No, most of it had nothing. It had a little bit to do with that, but not a lot. I mean, that's all part of it. But the situation, where the ball was on the hash, what kind of look we had, we felt like there was something that we could get.
The fact that it was 11 to go, you thought that added to the element of surprise, right?
Sure, that all adds to it.
When you call that, you're expecting it to be a wide open.
There's a lot of study that goes into a fakes. I'm not a big fake. I don't run fakes. Just like crazy, this every game. There's a lot of thought that goes into a lot of tape watch. We felt like we could get it. And if he would have gotten the ball earlier, he might have had a shot. If the ball would have came right out of Tommy's hand, we might have had it. I needed to do a better job of coaching the O-line, that they don't go downfield. I mean, that was something that the detail, that was my fault, and calling it is my fault. I'll take full responsibility for both of those. But, when we call one, it's because there's a lot of study involved. It's not just something that gets called for the situation in the game.
Does the study include, you've been doing this for a long time and frankly had a lot of success at it. You had a lot of success in returning kicks, but when you study the analytics, are maybe kind of tilting towards don't bring it out. You guys bring it out from deep. Maybe fair catch everything.
We bring it out from deep in preseason.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
sure. But has the game evolved to where the coverages are so good and the athletes are so good that it's getting harder to?
It's getting harder. There is no question it's getting harder because I've lived through it. I had Devin Hester when the coverage guys used to be big O linemen covering down, D linemen. There's nobody doing that anymore. I mean, they're all fast guys that can tackle in space. So, I mean, Devin changed the game, and I've seen the whole thing change. And you're right, it has changed. And you have to seriously think about all those factors every week. But there was a situation where we felt like we can get it.
When you watched the fake, Dave, was there anything that the Colts did well?
Yes. Yeah. 58. I can't remember his number, but 58. He was on point. He noticed it right away, and it kind of moved outside, so he got better leverage, and that's why Tommy didn't throw the ball right away. He felt like he was too tight to throw it. It kind of pulled up. In practice, we practiced and it wasn't as tight, so it was something that Tommy didn't see. So he hesitated for a second. He's not a quarterback, but he's pretty darn good for a punter. He does a good job there, but. Little things like that. Those are details that's my responsibility that I have to cover. We just didn't practice that situation.
Is he taught in that situation? Like if the coverage is tight, you certainly don't want to pick six.
Yeah, if the guy falls down and he's rolling out, he's got to run. He's got to try to do something with it. So I mean, obviously we told him that, but
Dave, you talk about getting more difficult to get a big return these days because of how teams are covering. At what point?
And kickers as well. Their kickers are better. They're moving the ball.
Yeah. Okay. At what point does it make more sense to get a guy who's maybe a good decision maker and a sure-handed guy, as opposed to a game breaker type of guy who maybe is a little more up and down in that regard?
You want both. I mean, you really want both. So I mean, I'm not a conservative guy. I'm an aggressive play caller. I'm an aggressive with. With returns, we're going to come out when it's close to the goal line. We're going to do that. We're going to take shots on goal, and I think works to our advantage. Teams know that we're going to be aggressive, and that's where we're always going to be as long as I'm here.
What have the conversations with Scott been like as far as just his confidence and using it as?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Confidence is huge, and the fact that he came, he was right there every time we were getting ready to punt. He was standing right next to me. Couldn't wait. They were getting ready to punt. He was ready to go back in. So that tells me a lot. And then he was able to catch, that last one and get 12 yards. And then practice was great all week. We have confidence in him. He's a young player who's going to get better and better.
Couple more, Sam. I just want to make sure that I'm not misunderstanding something. When you said you took responsibility for the play call. Do you have the freedom of the decision to call?
I recommend it to coach. I mean, that's on me. That's the way I look at it. Coach will take responsibility for everything, right? But I'm telling you right now, I mean, I could take full blame on this one. All right.
So, Scott, I don't think we spoke too much of the game, but what was his reasoning with the no punt? Was it the sunlight? Because I know what the roof was.
No, the roof and that had nothing. The thing being open had nothing to do with it. It was just a left-footed punter in a live situation. We don't have a left-footed punter that we practice all the time. I'm not trying to make all excuses for him, but it was a little bit of a bad ball read, and it got it kind of turned away from him a little bit late. He made the fair catch. Now it's just him and the ball. He's got to know that there's nobody else on the field, just him and the ball. And that's the mentality he's got to have.
And obviously, it was his first time doing it. Hasn't returned it much. He probably knows people back at home are like, because where the ball is up at the score. What do you say to him when he comes back to the sideline to make sure that he's?
Well, you don't want to crush his confidence. I mean, so you're going to pick him up, and guys, and our team does a good job with that. We have great leadership. It wasn't like we were going to lose the game right there at that point. I mean, it ended up those kind of plays when you lose a game end up being magnified a lot more bigger than what they were. I mean, it was a big play, huge play in that game. We gave him confidence, but our guys picked him up when he came to the sideline. They were all picking him up.
Go ahead, Sir.
Dave, do you have a hard and fast rule on where don't catch beyond this?
No, we don't.
Do you have,
because here's why we talked about this before. But the punters are so good now. When they can land the ball on the 5, and that thing could spin back. Or it could spin. Actually just dribble down and get on the 1. So. It's not a steadfast rule now anymore because the punters are so good. It's hang time. It's hang time, and guys covering you. We want to try to steal it, or we want to try to make a fair catch. Even if it's on the 8 or 9, you're better off playing offense there than you are on the 1.
So is it something that varies? Like, hey, this guy's really good.
Yes. Oh yeah, sure. That's game to game.
There is an edict when you go out there for each game.
No question. No question.
I saw you on the sideline right before the opening kickoff in Indianapolis. You were talking to Brian Cook. You just trying to calm him down after what happened against the Chargers?
He had a great game last week. So, I mean, he's to be commended for that because he, had some blunders in that other game, and then he came back and he was one of our best guys last week. He played great.
Do you remember talking to him before the game?
No, not really. I can't remember.
Last one, Karen.
Coach, just the honor for Tommy Townsend. How has he progressed? And why was this month, he was honored for? What is he doing that is really progressing him along?
His consistency is really good. Like, you've seen some of his bombs before. Like, he'll hit a bomb and then maybe not a great punt, and then his averages are not good. He's consistently putting good hang time, deep balls out there, and our coverage is getting down there. We're covering them for him, and it's working well right now. But it's way early. I mean, it's way early. We only got 3 games in, and he's got to be consistent throughout the rest of the year to be better than he was last year.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there's Dave Tobe. That was a much longer press conference than is typical with Dave Tobe. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City, and a lot of ground covered with that. The Sky Moore punts, the roof, the confidence in him, Pacheco returning kicks, when you return, when you don't return. What would you rather have back there? A sure-handed guy, explosive, all of that stuff. So here's Steve Spagnuolo.
Anyway, on to the next one. I don't have. I'll just open up for questions. We just got done with our walkthrough, and we're anxious to get out there and do some third down today.
Coach, are you surprised at all with how your defense is playing first 3 games in? That this is what you expect?
Listen, I'm always of the mindset that we can play better. So I'd like to see us do some things, but I'd like to see us finish that game better and. Actually finished all the games better, because if I go back to all 3 of them, we gave up a touchdown in Arizona at the end. Didn't mean much. The one against the Chargers did mean something. We're onside kick away from being back out there again, and certainly we wanted to play better at the end of this game. I mean, there's a lot of good things in there before that, but we're going to be hard on each other, and that would be the thing I'd be pointing to.
You had said going back to OTAs, you were kind of racing the clock to get everything ready for the regular season. Through 3 games, you feel like you guys are maybe ahead of that schedule? On schedule, behind schedule?
I don't. It's hard for me to listen. I always want to be at gear 10 on day 1, but I'm realistic enough to know that in this league, it takes a little time. I've always said that it takes the first quarter of the season to figure out what you have in players and where you should put them. we got a couple 3 pieces missing. You know, we got to get Trent back and Mike Dana, right? Willie's not here right now, so we want to get those pieces back in there. But the guys that have stepped up have done a nice job.
You blitzed a little more, I think, against Indy than you normally do. Was that the game plan, or was it just because, hey, this is working well?
Yeah, I mean, we blitzed early and had some success, and we were just kind of we wanted to attack that old line a little bit, and some of the things they had or had not done we had seen, and most of them worked out pretty good.
Coach, every year I ask you about Tom Brady. And here you go again.
Maybe you didn't have to ask me last year because we didn't play.
That's
him,
right.
Yeah.
But every time you play, I ask you about Tom Brady. The guy keeps getting older, but he still keeps producing. So, any let up in anything you see with this team?
We were talking about it. I mean, you know, we've played other quarterbacks that have been in the league a long time. I'm picking my words carefully here. And normally you'd see a drop off in arm strength, or they don't throw it to the sideline, and you know he can pack it in, et cetera, et cetera. Not so with Tom. I think he's throwing the ball as good as he ever has. He's accurate as he ever has been, and he's still throwing the ball deep. I don't see any, and he's always been a sit in the pocket, on the spot, relied on his arm strength. That hasn't changed. It's not like he ever relied on, you know, being a guy that got out of the pocket. So. He's the same threat he's always been, in my opinion.
So the NFL just announced that the game will be played in Tampa. Now that you know where you're going, how much can you now focus on the details as opposed to wondering where you're playing?
Yeah, we never had that in our mind, to be honest with you. Coach Reed, I'm sure, hit it. We just want to line up and play. The way I look at it is we were going to get on a plane no matter what. You know, in this league, you get on the plane, and wherever you land, you go play the game. So it really didn't. I don't think our guys had that on their mind, to be honest with you.
To follow up on what he asked about the blitz and trying to phrase it without asking you to give away scheme stuff, but does this week to week from the Colts to Tom Brady sort of indicate just how much you sometimes have to change things up from week to week? I mean, Tom's not typically a guy you can bring a delayed linebacker.
Yeah. Listen, it's always week to week depending on the team you're playing, and certainly the quarterback's the first guy, right? What can he do, can't do, and design your game plan around that. So it will be week to week. I mean, by nature, it'd be nice to always bring a lot of pressure. I just think it challenges O-lines and quarterbacks, but he's one of those guys that figures it out pretty quick. So you got to pick your spots.
What's the biggest challenge that you're going to face him? Obviously, the last time you played him in the Super Bowl, he had Antonio Brown, he had Gronkowski.
Yeah.
They'll be bringing Mike Evans back. I think Chris Godwin may or may not be playing this game. So what type of challenge is differently? Because he's someone that gets the ball out within 2 seconds.
That's you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it doesn't matter who he's throwing to. He gets it out really quick, so it makes it hard to get him off the spot, which is what everybody says they want to do to Tom Brady, right? And I'll tell you what, they still got players out there that obviously Mike's coming back, right? Mike Evans, and I think the tight end's really good. I think Cole Beasley will continue to be what he is. And he's only was there a week, and the very first pass he threw to him was right on target, and I mean, they just looked natural there together. So I think he's got plenty of weapons. It's going to be, like we talked about it in the meeting, it's going to be about, first we're going to stop the run game, because I don't want to forget about that, because Tom Brady is smart enough to take what you give him, and he'll keep the big horse cranking. And then the other part of it is try to affect his targets, and that's what we try to do.
So Steve, did you come to learn what Chris Jones said, and whether you have or haven't, what's your message to him or lesson?
Yeah, I never went down that road. I mean, that's the head coach's area. The way I look at it is we all learn from it. And I think that's what Chris said. I thought Chris handled it really good. And then we move on. There's not much more we can do about it now. I mean, the
lesson is, though, don't talk. I mean, lesson is...
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a heated, emotional game, right? But, I mean, that would be what I would take from it,
How did you evaluate Darius Harris?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought him up. I thought he did a really nice job. I mean, I'm really happy for him in the years he's been here, and it's been like this, and then he gets an opportunity to go out there and he knows he's going to play 60-some-odd plays in the game. And I thought he played real effective. I can only think of one play where I think he could have been better on. And he works really well with Nick. Like, they're both really intelligent players, so they work really well together.
I know he's played for you some in the past, but that's been a couple of years. Did you learn anything?
You talk about Darius?
Yeah. Did you learn anything about him specifically on Sunday, or
I'll tell you, I'd say no, only in that because I think he's been on an uphill trajectory since this whole training camp off season. I just have seen a different man even when he came back, working out the whole thing. It's just he just looks he was different before, and I kind of expected him to go in there and do a good job, and he did. He really did.
Steve, on the subject of the blitz that we're talking about, the trend in the league, at least last year, I don't know where we are, just 3 games in, but was that less and less blitz, right? Dropping 8 even, just coming with 4.
Yeah.
Is that, are you the change up to everybody else's fastball when you do that? Is that something you take into account when you're scheming that the rest of the league is coming with less and dropping?
Yeah, I don't get into league trends, to be quite honest with you. I just sometimes you can fall in a trap there. I think it's more about the guys you have, what you can or can't do, and then the people you're going against. I don't know. I haven't studied it either. But part of it's probably because of these quarterbacks get it out fast, and they're all athletic. A lot of them nowadays, when you bring people and can get a free runner, they make you miss because they're so. You can think of all those quarterbacks I'm talking about, right? So maybe that's got people backing off a little bit.
How do you feel about your pass rush when you're not blitzing? When you're
Listen, we've got guys. I thought Frank had a really good game. I thought Frank did some things power-wise that I hadn't seen in a while, and I told him that. I think he's really effective when he does that. And Chris was putting heat on guys. I just think it's where it needs to be. It's got to get better and better. We got to get better at everything, but not a weakness in any way.
Is the response, like after the penalty, you guys still had a chance to stop it? Is that the disappointment factor? And how hard is it for a group of guys to put that part away and say, we still have a chance to
that's
stop
part of the lesson, right? I mean, it was disappointing. It was a 3rd and whatever, and we had them backed up. They were going to punt the whole thing, and then everybody in their mind is, great, we stopped them. And it changed. Well, there's 4:28 on the board, 4:38 or what it was, and we're up by 4. It's still our job to seal the game. I mean, they could have, I don't know, anything could have happened. They could have got the ball right back. We would have been in the same situation. I mean, we were probably going to might have gone back out there trying to protect a 4-point lead anyway. And that's part of the job of the defense to stop. That was the disappointing. I thought it was a really good performance, right, for 3.5 quarters. And then to have not done that at the end, that was the biggest disappointment. So we're in here grinding away trying to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Coach, you had the last couple of seasons, Terrell Suggs, Melvin Ingram, and now you've got Carlos Dunlap coming in. Talk about his impact and what he's kind of done. Like Clark and how he had a good game. What is Carlos?
Yeah, Carlos did a really nice job. And I think Carlos, the whole scheme's new to him, but he's a pro. I watch him in our unit meetings, and not only does he take notes and he's cerebral, but he asks questions and he comes up with really good points, and he's not afraid to chime in and say, what about this? He's really good that way. And he's made some really important plays for us. I mean, that sack fumble he had was just a relentless pass rush, and he's long, So we're glad we have him. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, you got it.
Good game from Darius Harris and Collis Dunlap. A good game from him as well. So a lot of stuff covered, a lot of ground covered there with Steve Spagnuolo, who is excited about his defense. But a good point, he mentioned all 3 games they haven't finished. The Cardinals, they got some late points. Chargers got late points, and obviously the Colts with late points. Eric Bieniemy is going to be at the podium right now.
First of all, let me start this off real quick. I just wanted to say this to the people out in Florida. Sending prayers to the families in that region. As a person who was born and grew up there as a little kid, and watching my family have to go through what they had to go through with Katrina, I'm very sensitive to what's taking place there. I'm just hoping and praying that all the rescue and recovery efforts are going as planned. Praying for those families for resiliency. Moving forward, okay, and kind of going backwards, but congrats to the Colts, okay? They did everything they needed to do. We got exactly what we deserved. We got our ass kicked. We didn't play very well. We didn't coach very well. We're a much better staff, and we're a much better team than what we displayed. I expect our guys to handle their business this week in practice. I thought yesterday we came out and practiced with a purpose. We had some intent behind what we were doing. And sometimes you need a little bit of humility to get you focused and going in the right direction. So with that said, I'm all ears.
Coach, can you tell us what the exchange with Patrick was like, what you were trying to say to him at the end of the half, and maybe what he was in words that are okay to say back?
Here's the thing. So obviously we have a protocol. We're talking through the headsets. Here's what I love about Pat. Pat is a competitor. You guys have heard what I've said in the past about it. You want them that way. That's how you want them. You want to finish every drive in the end zone with a score. At that particular time, as a staff, we decided, you know what, we're getting the ball, to start the second half off. So we just want to take a knee. So obviously, Pat, being the competitor that he is, he wasn't ready to hear that. But at that particular time, I was just trying to calm the storm. Y'all know how I am. You guys have seen me erupt. So if it would have been a true eruption, I think you guys would recognize that. But after that, that was it.
Coach, you have to coach that position different. Like I know, like the running back picking up a blitzing linebacker is a physical and probably brings it. You need an emotion to do that. It's more of a cerebral position with the quarterback. You have to coach Pat or any quarterback differently than you would say a running back or a linebacker.
No, I think you coach the individuals different because everybody's different. Everybody can't handle certain things, or everybody's built differently. So you just want to make sure that you know exactly which buttons that you can push with certain people. And so that's the beauty about being a coach, is making sure that you know the environment of everybody that there is on your team. And we spend a lot of intimate time together. So, and I encourage all our coaches to make sure that we know the people, because if you know the people, okay, you can get great production out of the players.
Is he afraid to be coached hard? Because you get this thing where right now social media, there's one former player who has something. It seems to have something against you. Talks about the way that you seem to coach that players don't like, but everybody else seems to love you. So is it a manner in which how you talk to a particular player, how you talk to players, or can they not take the tough coaching from you?
Yes, you can coach players hard, okay? And certain players deserve to be coached hard. But one thing that you got to understand is different situations and how you handle and how you react. So as far as coaching, we're coaches. Our job is to make sure that our players are doing exactly what we want them to do. All right? On top of that, we've been doing this for a long time. So if there's an issue, we can have that discussion at the appropriate time. So, and then when it's all said and done with too, I think that's getting left out of this conversation. The head man has 51% of the vote. So whenever the head man say, hey, this is what we're going to do, then that's what we're going to do.
Eric, were you just relaying a message that Andy had made that decision? Are you the middleman in that conversation, I guess?
And we as a staff made that decision. So, and you got to understand, when I'm on the headsets with everyone, we're talking about, hey, you know what, let's just get out of this half. So we all decided as a staff to make sure, let's just get out here, let's go regroup, let's make sure that we can get our guys focused and come out and play.
I guess the question is why, because Patrick starts that conversation with you, right? He doesn't start it with you.
He's always going to talk to me because I'm in direct communication with him.
And then, like I said, he started that conversation. Would you prefer that conversation started in the halftime locker room? Or?
The conversation happened. One thing you guys got to notice and notice about me, I have no problems with players getting emotional and feeling how they feel, okay? I embrace that. I embrace the energy and the emotion that they bring, because the thing that you don't want to do is take that away. Now, could it be handled a little bit differently and professionally? Yes. But in that heat in the moment, you want your guys to be guys that want to go out and be the very best, who wants to come away victorious at any means necessary. So the exchange that we had, who cares? It really doesn't matter, because when it's all said and done with, we're going to talk a minute or two later and talk about exactly what we need to do. And so there is no personal issues. You just keep it moving forward.
And what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying it wasn't something needed to be talked about in any way later.
Not at all. I'm sure if you watch film, you guys will see emotional exchanges every weekend that take place. I happen to be an emotional guy.
You mentioned how you have the head man at 51% of the vote here, Andy. How often would you say that maybe you get the reins and you get 51% of the play calling, if at all, and how much do you relish those opportunities?
Well, sometimes I get 51%, sometimes I might get 52%. But then you got to understand, if I got 52%, the head man still has that 48%, and he might pull rank at times. So, but you guys got to understand, we have a great line of communication. We pride ourselves on doing a great job. Obviously, That result has nothing to do with what took place. We lost that game because our guys wasn't ready. And because our guys wasn't ready, that falls on us as a coaching staff. So our job is to make sure that our guys understand the importance of taking care of the little things. And when you got a lot of young players and you got a new environment, it's our duty not to take that moment for granted, okay? So not only was it a great lesson for our players, it was also a great humbling experience for us. And so we got to make sure that we're on top of everything, just like we have been in the past. But I'll go backwards to say this. Sometimes you need a little humility in life to get you focused on the direction which you need to head.
Well, Coach, talking about humility, last time we played Tampa, as you told me privately, they kicked you all's ass in the Super Bowl. That being the case, how focused are you all, how prepared do you have you all going up against the defense? Number one in the league, Todd Bowles. I mean, talk about this upcoming game and what you're going to be facing.
Todd Bowles does an outstanding job. Obviously, he's been in this league for a long time. He's been a great defensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach / defensive coordinator. He has a great staff. And guess what? They're doing a hell of a job on defense. So when you turn on the tape, our guys know you got to line up and play. It's going to be one of those games. It's going to be a 60-minute dogfight, and may the best team win.
Coach, some of the younger players said they noticed just a little bit more intensity, and the veterans have talked to them about, hey, they kicked our butts in the Super Bowl. We haven't forgot. We're looking forward to this opportunity. The youngsters are saying they feel that. But you're also looking at a team that their game ended the wrong way, too. They're coming off frustration. So you got two gladiators coming together who are off games they weren't happy about, having a rematch on the biggest stage. So what are you expecting in this?
Well, here's the thing, and I say this respectfully and humbly, okay? I don't care what took place with them. The only thing I know, we got this dirt on our shoulders. And the only way that we can get this dirt off our shoulders is to make sure when we come to work every single day, we're going to be the best player in that training room as far as getting my mind, body, and soul ready to go play a physical football game. We're in that classroom. It's my job to make sure I'm presenting the right information and getting them ready and prepared to have a complete understanding of what we're expecting. As a player, I want our players to make sure they're detailing all the notes, and then when it's time to practice, we're not taking anything for granted. And when it's all said and done, we're putting the right effort, the right attitude and determined mindset on tape, that if we go out and do everything that we're capable of doing, you know what? We got a chance. We'll give ourselves a chance to have a chance.
Coach, do you think there's some offensive growing pains, or do you just feel like last week was maybe a lack of execution like you had hoped for against the Colts?
No, I'll just say this. The Colts kicked our ass, and we got exactly what we deserved. And kudos to the Colts. They did exactly what they needed to do. Just like you guys know this because you guys have been working in this profession for a long time. You're just not good enough to think that you can just show up and win. That's the lesson in all of it. So if you want to be great, you have to learn how to take care of business every single day. And as a staff, it's our job to make sure that our players are staying on top of that. But on top of that, we got to make sure we're holding each other accountable and we're holding our players accountable, because indirectly we all impact each other's lives. So we got to make sure that we're staying on top of the little things to help us moving forward.
Last two, Adam and Saran.
Eric, you said a minute ago sometimes you need a little humility to get your focus back. Was that a problem last week maybe? Do you feel like guys maybe weren't focused enough? And this is sort of maybe getting them tunneled in, if you will?
No, I felt going into the game we were focused. But obviously we didn't have the attention, the details that was needed to go out and execute, to give ourselves a chance to come away with a victory, because there was a lot of mistakes made. And I don't place all that blame on the players. That's on us as a coaches, because as a staff, because we got to make sure that they're ready. And then our great players got to stand up and make plays. We have to make sure that we're doing all the little necessary things that's going to help us to be the best team that we can be on Sundays. And I'll say this as well. Our leaders will continue to lead. They know exactly what took place. Not a lot has to be said from us as a staff, because you can hear it in the small circles and the conversations that are taking place.
Coach, sorry to backtrack. I tried to get this in at the time. You when you were talking about the Patrick, thing, you said, at the end of the day, who cares?
Yes.
And I get that point, but you also interviewed for jobs? Do owners care? When you've had those conversations, is relationship with not just players, but franchise quarterbacks?
But you know what? That's a great question for the owners.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, there you go at the end there. It's a great question for the owners.
We might have gotten a half dozen Eric Bieniemy laughs. The over was a huge.
We got 5.
He's still laughing.
Beard says he's still laughing right now.
But that counts as one, though. Is that one long extended laugh? But I counted. We got 5.
A lot of laughter.
So we got 5 laughs. We got 3 I'll say thises. We got 3 all said and dones, and 1 hell of a today. We also got a few kicked our asses.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end there, to me, was one of the main takeaways when he said, we got our ass kicked. We got exactly what we deserved. And you got to understand you're not good enough to think you can just show up and win in this league. Whew. Travis Kelce. Actually, Tommy Townsend.
With my leg swing, and it's nice to see that like really starting to like pan out and start to piece some things together with that. But just that, and then just the mental side, like going into the season, I just feel really good. How I ended the year last year, just able to take some cues over from last season, carry them over into this year.
What was kind of going through your mind on a big field goal, especially like Coach Toad said that it didn't work out the way you guys were hoping as far as the coverage goes, and 58 was right there on the tight coverage.
Yeah.
What was kind of your focus on that play?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I want to get the ball out as quick as I can, and I didn't do that, so that's kind of on me. So like when I put the ball down, popped up to roll out, it looked like the linebacker was coming down a lot faster than he was. So I just kind of hesitated a little bit, and I just got the ball out a little bit late, and then obviously every time you run a fake, you want it to go well, but unfortunately that was something I'm always like striving for, and a lot of it's just the preparation pregame, just like walking the field and doing a lot of visualization and really just like just visualizing like how the ball's gonna fly in the air and like in the stadium, so it's just a lot of mental preparation.
So are you glad that you know where you're going to play? You know it's going to be grass. You guys are in Tampa. You don't have to think in the back of your mind about turf in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean that's that's not a decision for me to make.
But are you glad though that decision is made?
I'm glad a decision's made. Just so I can start mentally preparing for where we're going to play. Just because obviously Tampa, Minnesota are 2 completely different environments. So I'm glad that a decision's made with that. But my heart goes out to all the Floridians. As a fellow Floridian, I got a bunch of friends down in Fort Myers and in that area. So just heart goes out to them.
How much do you think you've grown from the last time you played there? Where it was probably maybe one of the worst games of your career in the Super Bowl, and just.
Thanks.
Sorry. But obviously, this is sort of a full circle moment for you. Just how much do you think you've grown from that game to where you were?
Yeah, I mean, an incredible amount. I mean, obviously, I was a young player, and that's no excuse. But a lot of stuff goes into it. A lot of stuff that people don't see. A lot of stuff that goes into it. But obviously, when you go out and you play in big games, like obviously you want to play well. And I mean, that's a couple years ago. Like I don't think about that game ever. I've moved on. I've grown. I've learned a lot from it. My preparation is completely different now from how it was then. So. That's just something that was in the past and something that happens. It's not something that I really think about. I've grown from it. I've moved on, and just trying to keep doing what I'm doing right now.
I don't know if the visualization part of that pregame is one of those new changes, but is there an example of is this something I did pregame as a rookie versus what I do now, and it translates to better performance?
I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that goes on. I have my own personal mental cues and stuff like that, and stuff that I don't really want to share just because it's sacred to me and what I do in my preparation. And same thing with Harrison. He's got a bunch of things that are sacred to him in his preparation that he wants to keep unique to him. And it's one of those things we just want to keep some things to ourselves, and we don't want to just like a magician, we don't want to tell about all our tricks, whatever the saying is. Yeah.
I know you guys practice, different fakes, different plays throughout training camp and everything, but does it work that hey, Dave had something on tape and all week it's we're going to do this, or is it just a club that's in the bag? You guys practice it every week and we're going to go get it whenever maybe the situation feels like it?
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends
Did you know going into that game we're going to do this at some point?
Yeah, it just depends on the game. It depends on the situation. We have different stuff up for, different teams each week. And this was a fake that we'd been practicing specifically for Indianapolis. And yeah, we just saw some things on tape and it looked really good. And yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out. Can't say that I'm not a little bit upset about my my completion percentage, but it is what it is.
Matt, last one. Hey, you've kicked in this stadium before, and certainly doesn't sound like even with the game on, the weather's going to be great. What are kind of the intricacies, especially in kicking in poor conditions and in this stadium in particular?
Yeah, I mean, Tampa's a pretty open stadium, so it gets a little breezy, and of course, like right there, on the coast and right there on the bay, it definitely gets a little breezy. So it's one of those things. Like I have like apps and stuff like that. Like I check the wind and all that, like going into the week, just so I can kind of like plan on what I'm gonna get and kind of see that through. Just so when I step out on the field and I'm walking the field pregame, I'm not completely shocked by what's going on. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like a lot of the preparation comes pregame as well, just like, going through doing my drops and, having my mental cues, set for that game of what I need to do and like how I need to be prepared based on, the just like the weather, wind, all that stuff.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
All right, there's Tommy Townsend. We'll hear from Creed Humphrey. No Kelsey today, so they have traded out Travis Kelsey for Tommy Townsend and Creed Humphrey. At the podium, not the great trade.
2 for 1. I mean,
it is a 2 for 1.
What are you complaining about?
Yeah, that's true.
Travis Kelsey.
We will hear from Creed Humphrey here very soon. Tommy Townsend, last time you played there was the worst game of your career. Thanks. Here's Creed Humphrey.
The Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but obviously the offensive line was the storyline of that game. I'm just wondering if you can sense from the guys who were here what having the opportunity to play Tampa again means to them.
Yeah, I think we're looking towards this game just like any other game. We have a goal that we want to achieve, and that's to win this game. So I think everybody's pretty fired up about that. Obviously, not too many of the guys are still here from that year, but the guys that are here, we've talked about it and everything, and everybody's just kind of ready to go.
Creed, I have to ask you about Shaq Barrett's comment. He kind of noted that they feel like they can dominate and have a quote coming out party. When you guys hear something like that, how much is that motivating even more for a team?
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to any of that type of stuff. I come in and do my job here, and that's what I'm focused on. So, for me, it's just coming in, making sure I do my job and go out and execute on Sunday.
How about your teammates? Any of them? Does that get them going? Is it a motivator for any of the other guys?
Not really. We haven't talked about anything. We're just focused on the game, focused on executing. So that's what we're going to do. So
what about this defense? Todd Bowles is known for great defense, and we've been talking about the layers they had of the line and everything else. What are you looking at? What catches your attention when you look at them?
Yeah, really a mixture of talent and scheme. They have a good defense for sure. Very talented players, whether that's the D-line, the linebackers, the secondary. They have talented players, all throughout. And, their DC does a great job with their schemes too. So it's going to be a tough challenge for us. But we're excited to get after it.
Gary Vaynerchuk was pretty blunt when he was in here. He said, "You guys got your asses kicked." Is that a motivating factor this week? I mean, do you feel, is there a greater intensity, especially if coaches are demanding from you this week?
Yeah, I think anytime you lose a game like that, you're ready to get that taste out of your mouth. So, everybody's been, we've had a really good week of practice so far. Everybody's been fired up and really focused and just ready to go out there and, try to change that and, get back to winning and things like that. So everybody's really motivated right now. Everybody's executing well in practice, and we're practicing with intent, which is very good right now. So,
are there things that you learned from that Colts game, though, especially on pass protection, that you feel like you can apply towards Tampa?
Yeah, they do. Their schemes aren't really too similar, but for us, it's just about executing. That's what it is for us. So we're going to go out there and making sure we execute better this week.
Creed, I know we talked about Eric the enemy saying, you got your ass kicked and everything. It was a tight game. Like it seemed like everything that could go wrong for you guys on both sides of the ball. Special teams did. Yet you're still sitting there up 4. Do you take anything from that, or does it make it more painful, or is that stuff you can build on? That it really was kind of an avalanche of mistakes and problems. Yet you were still in position to win the game.
Yeah, I think it.
it kind of shows this team what we're capable of whenever we're doing things the right way and really, executing our job well on any given Sunday. It kind of shows us what we could do and what we can be. So I think we took from that for sure, and we're gonna, go out there and try to turn it around and get a different result this week.
And I know it's an emotional game, and based upon our conversations with you, I assume you're not the most conversational guy on the field. But is there kind of a code of the road of what you can and can't say if the refs are around? I'm obviously alluding to Chris Jones got a penalty, and a lot of people are upset. Like, hey, it's just talk. I mean, it's an emotional game. Guys talk. Is there kind of a code of conduct, like this is the magic word that'll set it off, or?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't really talk out there at all whenever I'm out there. I kind of just do my job, so I don't really know. But yeah, you'd probably have to ask somebody else.
A couple more. Creedrow is going to be tied to Nick Bolton because you guys were part of the same draft. I just wonder from your vantage point, what makes Nick exceptional?
Yeah, I mean, Nick is a very talented player. He's awesome to watch, and I think it's a mixture of things. His instincts are extremely good. He's very instinctual. Then you pair that with how he studies, how he sees the field, kind of being able to see what's coming before it comes, things like that. It helps him a lot, and I mean he's a great player.
Creed, are you noticing that even if you can't get into specifics, just defensive linemen treating you differently this year after a full year of tape?
Not really, no. They haven't really treated him any different. They're going to go out there and they're going to do their scheme. They're going to do what they're coached to do every week. So for us, it's our job to handle that.
Anybody else? Thanks, Creed.
Thank
Thanks.
All right, there's Creed Humphrey, along with Eric Bieniemy, Dave Tubbs, Steve Spagnuolo, and Tommy Townsend. We will take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Hear from some sound from the locker room. I believe Chris Jones talked with Todd Lebo. So he was non-injury related, absent from practice yesterday, and talked today in the locker room. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from him next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You're lesser than me because you're not in the media.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll hear from Chris Jones here in just a second. Big shout out to Nick and Jake's. A little food from Nick and Jake's. Love it. And certainly appreciate them. They've got a huge event coming up on Monday, Blue Hills Country Club, with the For the Kids golf tournament to support the For the Kids Foundation, FORE, thekidskc.com, or .org, I apologize, forthekidskc.org. It's where you can go and see about the event and the silent auction items and how you can get tickets to the dinner Monday night, which will have Bill Self and some KU basketball players that are national champions will be there as well, and all the money goes to Children's Mercy and to help out and continue to progress and build the anxiety and depression clinic at Children's Mercy and continue to have outreach around the city. So appreciate Nick and Jake's and the food today, filling the bellies. Appreciate that. Chris Jones apparently got the ref got his fill of Chris Jones talking on Sunday. Here's Todd Lebo in the locker room with Chris Jones.
Everything okay yesterday? You're just
all is good. All is good.
They haven't told us exactly, and after the game, you didn't remember what was said, whatever. Do you care what was said, what you said that was the line that that particular referee drew?
I think it's important for the game to for players to know what we can and can't say. I don't think I violated Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1C. To my understanding, but I think it's important that us as players, we know what's allowed and what can be said and what can't be said on the field, because if not, then a lot of more of those flags could possibly happen.
So do you have clarity now? Are you still?
I still don't have no clarity, and I'm quite sure the league would take a look at it. Hopefully they have the audio for that so they can explain to the fans, but I moved forward. I moved past it. Can't worry about that. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that we got to go to. And my job right now is to get everyone to lock in. That's past us. That's a game we can learn from. We didn't win, most importantly, and put our best foot forward, making sure that we prepare for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady.
Chris, how do you process it? Because, on one hand, you were surprised by it. On the other hand, it was called, and so what compartment do you put it all in?
It's one of those situations where, after it's called, there's nothing really you can do about it. I was merely surprised by it all, and my opinion on it is that give us a clear understanding of what we can and can't say. So I don't ever want to make that mistake again for this team. I feel wholeheartedly that, I put this team in a bad situation towards the end, and then reluctantly cost us the game.
Do you feel like it's something you've either said or heard before? I mean, you may not want to get that close to the specifics, I understand.
I don't remember. You're going to have to ask the referee. I'm still shocking. I still would like to know what I said in order to get clarification on the issue.
Was it the worst thing you've ever said on the field?
It was actually one of the nicest things. But I would like to know what's allowed. I know the game is evolving. And that's a part of the game. You got to learn to adjust to it. So I'm adjusting, I'm learning, and for me, from the aspect of being a leader, it won't happen again.
On the Bucs, you guys are going to Tampa now. They just told
I
us it's not going to be
realized.
Minnesota. So were you thinking about that at all? Did you care where you played them or what you were going to do?
It doesn't matter, but the only aspect of it is that Minnesota can get brutally cold at times, so you got to worry about what type of attire you would like to wear during the game. But most importantly is put the ball down. This defense is ready to play anywhere. We'll go outside and play on the concrete if we have to.
Chris, has too much time elapsed since the Super Bowl to still feel that as some motivation in this game?
I think that's very far-fetched when you think about it. We had different circumstances. We was in a different situation when we actually went to Tampa and played the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of tragedies towards the offensive line going into that game. So I think we're a revamped offense, definitely revamped on defense, and we got a different mindset in this building right now. So I'm excited. I think it's a moment for everyone to get the back stigma out of the mouth, and play against one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game.
You and Tom have had plenty of exchanges.
I will not exchange nothing with Tom, okay? I'm not getting no flags, okay? I don't know what is allowed, what is not allowed, so I'm not saying nothing. Oh, listen, it's going to be a clear game. I'm not saying anything.
At least that much is clear, huh?
Yeah.
Just for next time. Minnesota's a dome now. You don't have to worry about what to wear.
Excuse me?
They got a dome in Minnesota now. You don't have to worry about it.
I'd rather
You're
play in
out there.
Tampa
I
anyway
know.
because of the grass fields.
Right.
You know, I had a couple
You can wear whatever you want when you play in
meniscus.
Minnesota next time. It'll be good.
Yeah, it's all good. Minnesota have a heck of a stadium, but I'd rather play on the grass.
You'll be there sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so there's Chris Jones. Still not a lot of clarification other than the fact that he still thinks it's BS because something that happens all the time on a field. And I love the question from Todd Lebo. Was it one of the worst things you've said on a football field? It was actually one of the nicest.
I think we got a little bit to this over the course of the week so far, but his point there is important.
Agreed.
If players don't know what
point.
it is that is going to get them in trouble, your policing no longer works.
Yeah.
If you get pulled over driving 65 in a 45, they don't pull you over and say, here's your ticket, goodbye. Because what if you didn't know you're 20 over, you're 10 over, what if you're going 50 in a 45? Those things matter because that's the whole point of the enforcement of the rules. You don't see them throw a flag and say, penalty, number 95, defense. They say something like holding or taunting or harmful language or whatever it is. You have to be more specific there. Right. You can't just throw a flag and say the offense did something wrong. 5-yard penalty, replay first down. That's not enough information. That's not doing your job well enough as a rule enforcer.
I love the analogy of the speed limit. The speed limit signs are never posted, but just know there is a speed limit on this road.
Good luck.
You don't know what it is, but there is one. You may or may not get, caught for speeding.
I've actually gotten more worked up about that part of this than I was on Sunday. That's gotten worse into the week for me.
The Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1C, the use of baiting or taunting acts or words that engender ill will between teams. That's what he said. He did not violate that, which is what the NFL said that he did violate, and that official said that he violated specifically Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1C.
We've got a Twitch commenter here that said, as much as Chris Jones says he's moved on, he was able to whip out the exact subsection of the rule book.
Yeah.
That is a great point, and I had to look up that exact subsection of the rule book to see what it said, and it's one sentence. That's it. Use of baiting or taunting acts or words that engender ill will between teams. So there you go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Wrap up this hour next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
A1 Mortgage, born and raised right here in beautiful Lee Summit and serving all our friends in the Kansas City area for over 15 years. We take care of our community and we want to take care of you. Whether you are purchasing your first home or your fifth home, call 816-822-8888 or go online at a1mortgage.com and let A1 Mortgage provide our unbeatable customer service. Maybe you're looking for a refinance to pay off some bills. Let A1 Mortgage get you locked into the best program for you and your family. A1 Mortgage is a local veteran-owned business that serves you, Kansas City. We'll find you the best deal for your new home, refinance, or cash out. Call the A1 Mortgage team at 816-822-8888. That's 822-8888 or online at a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group, LLC, a Kansas and Missouri licensed mortgage company, NMLS 268370. Terms and conditions apply, subject to change without notice.
For those who believe some of the best memories are made in flip-flops, Pro-Built Pool and Patio salutes you. Summer may be in the rearview mirror, but we prefer to live it 24/7. As the largest in-ground fiberglass pool builder in the Midwest, Pro-Built Pool and Patio specializes in making your outdoor oasis come to life, no matter the season. For the best in backyard pools and spas, Pro-Built dials up the creativity with the perfect gift for yourself and your family. Call 816-786-3893 or visit us at ProBuiltPatio.com.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who miss the fairway all day and still pull out the big stick, the type of guys who will always prefer to be behind the grill than in front of the camera, and the men who never let their friends forget about a high school nickname. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Nothing makes cheering on your favorite team better than wings. Pair your at-home game day with Twin Peaks Wings. Find your favorite store at twinpeaksrestaurant.com/locations.
Hey, this is SSJ, and I want you to join my team for the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's in Kansas City on October 2nd. Simply go to alzwalkkc.org and search for my team, SSJ's Walkers and Talkers. Registration is free. Go to alzwalkkc.org and join my team. And if you register, you can win 2 tickets to a Chiefs game and $100 to Joe's KC. So register today.
Kansas City. Did you know that Tickets for Less has the best seats at the best prices to all of your favorite events? Compare sites and you'll see why Tickets for Less is your #1 source for all event tickets, local and nationwide. Find the best deals at ticketsforless.com.
When you have trouble sleeping, it's tough. When kids have trouble sleeping,
Mom, I can't sleep. Dad, just one more story?
for nights like this, try Vicks Pure Z's Kids. Our great tasting gummies are specially formulated for kids with a unique blend of botanicals and a low dose of melatonin to support their natural sleep cycle. Best of all, they're drug-free and non-habit forming. Help your child fall asleep naturally with Pure Z's Kids Gummies. Consult with a doctor before use. For ages 4 and up.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack. Are you betting on...
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, 913-381-0810.
I call him Singy McSinger Face.
Do you play album thing? Let's go to Ben.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Little smoky chicken pasta, some garlic bread, some salad and some, I don't know, carrot cake. I'm not sure. It's just my favorite. So don't anybody eat the carrot cake. It's a vegetable. You don't want a vegetable for dessert. Thank you to Nick and Jake's Smoky Chicken Pasta. Enjoying that one. Josh.
I can't wait to eat this food, man. I'm staring at it and looking forward.
That's what I'm going to do right now.
To the end of this segment, which is fine because you go shove your face full of food. In fact, actually, Beards, can you move some commercials around? This is really nice. Could we do like 25 minutes here of just kind of you and me just cutting it up?
Yeah, why not?
Feels good. Jason wouldn't complain either because Nick and Jake's is fully being consumed by Jason Anderson. The good news is I get to finally spotlight someone who I've wanted to talk more about this entire week. Going on the Chiefs-Colts, said if the Chiefs did not control that game, I'd have to start negative on the post-game show. Well, now here we are on Thursday, and I'm finally ready to give out a positive award from this game. We heard him earlier. Steve Spagnuolo and this entire Chiefs defense was so good against the Colts that, yeah, at the end they had one more chance to stop him. They couldn't do it. They stopped him once, then the penalty, all of that. We've been there. And I want to give the Chiefs defense the award that they deserve. So Steve Spagnuolo and this Chiefs defense gets our Ruback Fine Jewelry's Who Gets the Ring, presented, of course, by Ruback Fine Jewelry. I hope the Chiefs get plenty of jewelry of their own. They might have to wait till February, but if you're ready to get a little custom jewelry for a loved one, perhaps for an engagement ring, perhaps it's just the best holiday present in the world, you can do that at Ruback Fine Jewelry. You don't have to wait till February, even though the Chiefs might. Visit them online at ruback.co. That's where I went when it was time to get an engagement ring for fiancée Renee. I didn't even know what that process was going to look like for me. I walked in, I talked to Hal, I made visits there 3 or 4 different times to get the process just right. It was an incredible process, an incredible result, and ultimately, I cannot recommend Ruback Fine Jewelry highly enough. Every single part of that process was incredible. They've been serving the Kansas City area for 100 years. Hal's been in the industry for over 40 years, and he's an incredible educator as well. So if you're going into this whole process not knowing where to start, not knowing where you want to end up at the end, do not let that make you hesitate now. Hal will be the one that gets you over that hump, hopefully like the Chiefs defense will continue to do for a better overall effort against the Bucs. You will not get a better overall effort anywhere in the jewelry industry, though, than you will at Ruback Fine Jewelry. They're by appointment only, and they're going to treat you like it as well, give you the time you need. Ruback.co, ruback.co, to book your appointment today. Get in with Ruback. Custom engagement ring, incredible gifts, and other jewelry that they do. But the engagement ring process is what I went through. It was incredible. Actually, a little more incredible than the Chiefs defense was. The Chiefs defense almost as incredible as Ruback Fine Jewelry.
The performance from Ruback will be better than the performance in Sports or Leisure. I guarantee that.
That's definitely true.
Because that's coming up next. We got sports questions. We got leisure questions. We'll do that. 913-3-810-810. Have a little fun at finishing up this final hour of the show. Bengals Dolphins tonight. 2 is expected to play. He's expected to wobble his way to the field.
Waddle his way onto the field at least. Could be a
part
hilly climb.
Part of the Kelsey podcast when they were having a little fun when they were starting to talk about Tua and joking about it. Then they eventually got serious. They threw in a Rocky, Adrian, and Kelsey goes, Waddle, Waddle. It's NFL players laughing about somebody and then going, no, but this is serious.
It was serious, folks.
Let's really get into how serious this is. Waddle!
WHB Kansas City.
You're into
And now, on Sports Radio 810 Sports Center.
The University of St. Mary Overland Park campus educates leaders in all fields: business, education, healthcare, and more. Learn more at a virtual info session on October 5th. That's stmary.edu/RSVP. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs were looking to potentially move to a neutral site game for once against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but not the case, as the NFL and the Buccaneers have announced that the game will continue to be played as scheduled in Tampa Bay. Today, Harrison Butker and Mike Dana won't practice. Everyone else on the field in at least some capacity. Kicker Matthew Wright was signed to the practice squad as Butker practiced yesterday, not today. Dave Tope said he was sore, leaving the door open for either kicker to take over on Sunday. The Chiefs have gone from minus 2.5 points to plus 1 point, now an underdog for Sunday Night Football in Tampa Bay. We'll talk about that, really a lot more, in sports or leisure on the other side of the break here in the Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, 913-381-810 is the phone number to be a part of the show to play a little sports or leisure. 913-381-810. Get a sports question, get a leisure question, get them both right, you win. Get either of them wrong, you lose. Put the question out there available for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to it or if they have Googled as well.
What are they playing for, Jason?
We are playing for $25 to Johnny's Tavern.
Hey, Jason.
What's up?
I have a question for you.
Ask me.
I was in Lawrence on Saturday. That's not a question. That's a statement.
Cool.
I was in Lawrence. Was hanging out with some family who went to the KU game. Afterwards, they said, hey, we're going to grab some food and bring it back to the house. Anything up in your mind? I said, yeah, you guys figure it out. You know, whatever you think is good. I'm a happy camper. You know where they went?
Where did they go?
Johnny's Tavern in Lawrence, Jason.
How about you?
And
Very cool.
Got the Dodge City Burger again, the fry ring combo. I mean, just undefeated. You doing okay over there?
I am trying to figure out why the computer that has the call screener on it is not on. And
sure isn't.
Because it turns out it was just off. So I'm looking
I think we
for.
might have had a power outage last night because there were a couple different computers that have been off.
Our computers downstairs were off. So
it's
on now.
So is the one in the corner office. That makes sense.
Also, looking for the mouse that would control that particular computer. So there's typically two mice over here. Is the plural of computer mouse mice or is it mouses?
I think it's mice.
I would guess it's my.
I was going to say Mises.
It's my. Yep,
no,
I'm looking for the two my.
Beards, you dumb idiot. That's the plural of moose.
Never mind. I've got it. It's up. We're ready to go. We got full board. We're good. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Can you see the names on there?
Mouse not
I
needed.
can. Okay. There's a John, a Jeffrey, a Ryan, a Chris, and a Alexis.
No.
Nope. I'm joking.
No, it's not them.
Oh, sorry. No, I do see the names. All right. But the phone number is 913-381-810 to join the show. Doing a pass along news of the day so far. Chiefs and Bucs staying in Tampa. That game is not being moved. We'll play same time, same date, same location. Also, the Chargers, when Brandon Staley says Monday that it is a significant groin injury for Joey Bosa, he will be, quote, week to week. He'll be more than week to week. He is having core muscle surgery. He's being placed on the IR. He'll be out minimum a month. And I'm guessing longer when he says he expects to play again this year. Is that just a 4-week IR? No, I expect to play again this year. When Trent McDuffie went on the IR with a hamstring, nobody said, well, you expect Trent to be back this year. Obviously, it's not nearly as severe as having core muscle surgery. And it may just be 4 weeks. Who knows? But he's out minimum 4 weeks. And we'll see after that, and the hits keep coming for the Chargers. So Staley, Rashawn Slater's lost for the year, and Joey Bosa's lost for minimum 4 games, probably more with that. So 913-381-810 is the phone number. Let's get the categories here for a little sports or leisure. Johnny's Tavern, $25 we're giving you, sending your way if you get a sports and a leisure question right. The categories on the sports side, we've got the Brady Bunch. Questions about Chiefs and Tom Brady. We've got NFL, college football, one Royals rookie question, and Major League Baseball left. So those are the questions for today. Leisure, Josh.
Our categories are the continuing now relatively challenging Marvel questions. Intern
Okay.
Dylan continues to make his presence felt. Commonly misspelled words, spelling bee. Those are the standards. Also, the return of the pun name game today. Not going to say why the name of one of your categories made me laugh / wonder if I should retool my category. But then the real new one for today, the real new one, partially in honor of George Karlaftis, partially in honor of the ship of Theseus, as we were discussing earlier. New category, let's get Greeky. These are going to be questions about Greek mythology, not ones you've never heard of before. We're here to the degree of difficulty is an important fine balance here on Sports or Leisure. So it's not going to be a name you've never heard of, probably from Greek mythology. But I'm also not going to ask you, which Disney movie was starring an animated, I believe actually Roman god who is very strong. That's a little too easy. Of course, I'm thinking of Pocahontas. I just tried to think of another animated Disney movie.
Yeah.
Strong boy in it. That would be Hercules that I was referring to there, which I actually believe it's Heracles in Greek. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's get Greeky is the new edition where we can walk the halls of Greek mythology in our leisure time.
Do we have Silk with the R&B group that had the song "Greek Me, Baby."
I don't know if that's in the system.
Greek you up and.
I don't know that that's just ready to go. Beards, can you check on that, please? Beards?
It's not there.
Greek me, baby. Let me Greek you. It was a great song. Nobody knew what it was about. And they thought, why are they saying Greek? Are they meaning to say another word? But no, they weren't. It's
what's the title of the song again?
It's just called it's Silk. It's called Greek Me.
Greek Me.
It's called Freak Me. All right, come on.
I thought this was going to be a real thing. I was
No,
excited.
you thought it was real? No, it was...
I thought maybe it was.
No,
I now see Freak Me. I get it.
Of course you wouldn't get that.
I thought,
reference.
honestly, I was afraid that you were misreferencing Silk Sonic when you were referencing a song by Silk. And so, yeah,
Again, stay in your lane.
2 years before I was born, that song came out.
Good for you.
I feel okay.
913-381-810. I'm ready to go. Josh, you good?
I guess so.
Beards, how about you?
Yeah, fine.
All right, great. So I'm just going to go in order 1 through 5
yes,
here.
That's how they called in.
Okay, I was going to say because on my call screener when it started.
Did the same thing on this side. Don't
okay,
worry.
very good.
Yeah,
All right, so let's just go.
Just go in order.
Dylan, first up, leading us off on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a little sports or leisure on this Thursday. Dylan, what side do you want to start with, sir? Sports side or the leisure side?
Let's go with leisure, and I'll take the fun name game.
Oh, okay, straight out of the gate. Well, look, this one is just the first one that it was. This old quarterback just refuses to hang him up, maybe because he doesn't want to have a TV show starring him and his 6 children.
That would have to be Tom Brady Bunch.
I mean, it was right. Jason gave you the answer
Sorry.
key. We did not communicate. No, it's all right. That's all right. That's an opener and also can be a proof of concept for the rest of the pun name game today for people.
What are you thinking on the sports side, sir? We've got the Brady Bunch. We've got NFL, college football, Major League Baseball.
Let's go NFL.
All right, NFL for you. Justin Jefferson now has 5 career games with at least 150 receiving yards. Who is the only player with more than Justin Jefferson's 5 games at age 23 or younger in NFL history? This guy had 6.
6 before 23.
Bursting onto the scene and had just a 150-yard game after 200-yard game after this guy is amazing as a wide receiver and all of that stuff.
Can I get a decade by any chance?
Turn of the century. And I don't mean like turn of the century to 1900. It wasn't bottleneck Longhorn. Bottleneck Longhorn with that 200-yard receiving game.
Well, I don't know, guys.
Throw a dart. Guy was, I'll say this, burst onto the scene and people were like, see, that's why you shouldn't have passed him up in the draft. That's why other teams shouldn't have passed him up.
I'll go Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison is incorrect. Dylan, thanks for playing, man. I really appreciate it. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. That question is out there and available for someone to call in and request. And there's the hint, is that as soon as you saw the guy play in the NFL, you said, well, teams should not have been passing him up and, quote-unquote, scared off by him. Let's go to Sonny next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sonny, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with, sir?
I will start with sports, my friend.
All right, we've got the Brady Bunch. We've got that NFL question. We've got college football, some Major League Baseball stuff as well. He gone.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm concerned about with the phone lines, Beards. He dropped as soon as you answered that phone in there. Okay, he just fixed it.
Beards says he fixed it, which I think is code for Beards bleeped up. And then Beards identified as bleep up.
Things got reset, so not his fault. But I do want Sonny to call in because Sonny will move to the top of the line, even though there's a full board right now. So I apologize.
Leave that question reserved for Sonny. Maybe that's not not an open question officially.
It's Beards.
I got the issue fixed. We're good.
Okay, that's Beards' fault, and there was no question for Sonny because he hadn't said what category he wanted.
I'm sorry, Sonny. That was my bad.
Yeah. Let's go to Lucas next up. Let's go to Not Sunny next up on Lucas next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Lucas, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Can I start on the sports side?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Do you have a Lance Allworth question out there?
You know we don't. We do not have one, Lucas.
Can I just start with the MLB then?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Matt Holliday's son, this goes back to the draft. Matt Holliday's son was taken number 1 overall in the draft. He became the second son of a former major leaguer to go number 1 overall. Who's the other?
1 overall.
Number 1 overall, son of a former player.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Not too often do you see their kid go number 1.
Do we have like a time frame when it's
I would say since 1970. Since 1970.
Bobby was 3 overall.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's typically the kid doesn't go number 1 overall by the Major League Baseball player. And he was going to be number 1 from the time he was a junior.
Is that Prince Fielder?
It is not the Prince. It is not the Prince. Lucas, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-0810. I slipped in a couple of hints there if anybody got those.
We try to leave some breadcrumbs.
Yeah, that's right.
Some Johnny's onion rings.
Let's go to Sonny up next right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sonny, let's try this again. Go right ahead, sir.
Still sports?
What side do you want to start with?
Bro, I lost last week. My wife made me sleep on the couch all week. I've been studying, and then Beards does that. I mean, that's like a bad omen, dog.
Unbelievable.
I still love Beards. Beards is still the man, but come on, bro. It ain't the weekend yet. Okay, you will get that win. Don't worry, big dog. Let's go sports, and let's go with that last question you just shot out there, that Major League Baseball question.
Okay, so Matt Holliday's son taken number 1 overall in the draft. He's the second son of a former Major League Baseball player to go number 1 overall. Who is the other?
Let's go Ken Griffey Jr.
That's right, since he was a junior and typically the kid. Those were my hints. I was just slipping those things in there. But yeah, Griffey.
You were giving it away.
I thought so.
That football one also. So I'll let someone take that one because I knew that one also, but I'll be quiet.
Yeah, and it wasn't Lance Allworth either. So
no,
on to
leisure.
leisure.
Lance Allworth.
That's right.
On the leisure side, Brisco, hit me with the puns, buddy.
Oh, we're doing the pun game again. Okay, well, look. If the Chicago Bears build it, their quarterback will come. Or maybe he's already there.
Field of Dreams.
That's part of it. Who's the who, though?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the who?
Kevin Costner?
No, it's very specific. I'm gonna read through it again, and I'll kind of set us up again. Then
I feel like it's flipped though, because like the movie's the first part, and then the player's the second part. So like,
sometimes I felt. Here's the thing. The movie I've referenced in a pun name game before.
Okay.
I got to make sure the degree of difficulty stays questionable. So specifically, if the Chicago Bears build it, their quarterback will come, unless he's already there.
Justin Fields.
Sonny, you got
You're so you've. I mean,
Come on,
you
man.
really.
It's
You're
the
real.
pun name game.
You've got some great things to work with here. If you could just
pun name
find
game.
a way to bring them
The
together.
Chicago Bears will
You
build
can't ask
it.
for the pun name game and then not know how to do it,
So
Sonny. Come on, man.
I had
Come
some
on,
confidence in you. I'm going to tell your wife to send you outside again, unless you can bring together the quarterback whose name you've mentioned and the movie whose name you've mentioned. Those, Tom Brady bunch
create
was
the
the one
pun.
earlier.
Justin Field a dream.
There we
Hey,
go.
all right, Sonny.
There we go. Sonny's a winner.
Yeah. He got it. You know what? Got hung up on, got called back, forgot how the pun name game was played, got the answer right, and no longer sleeping on the couch.
$25 to
Three-time
Johnny's.
champ, baby. Hey, yo, 3-time champ. You got to recognize.
That's a victory there. His marriage gets to continue.
That's
I mean,
right.
just win after win for Sonny today.
Good for you, Sonny. Appreciate it. Hold on. We'll get you information,
Got to
man.
stay strong through adversity. Like
There
when
we go.
Grace hangs up on you and pretends it was an accident.
That's right. Sonny, winner number one. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. And Avery next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Avery, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Is that a Randy Moss question still out there?
Let's see. Yeah, we do have one.
That bit gets
is
me
that the
every
one you want?
time, man.
Yeah, I'll do that football question.
Great. Justin Jefferson with 5 career games of at least 150 receiving yards. Who's the only other player with more than Justin Jefferson's 5 games at age 23 or younger in NFL history? Before you answer, Avery, I do want to give away a couple of the hints that we said, that he sort of took the NFL by storm, and a lot of people were saying, maybe you shouldn't have let this guy slip down the draft board there or be scared off by some of his past in college. So what say you? Do the hints now lead you in the right direction?
Well, I was thinking it was probably like a former Marshall wide receiver, and now that helped me narrow it down to, I think it's Randy Moss.
Yeah, it was Randy Moss.
Wow, you were so lost before Jason gave you those hints.
We were going
too.
former Notre Dame receiver, though. We would have also accepted former Florida State receiver. Randy Moss. Yes, Randy Moss had 6 of them. So how about the Vikings? They know how to pick them.
No kidding.
Very good. On to the leisure with Josh.
I'm going to give you the categories again for you and everybody else. We got Marvel questions, commonly misspelled words, the pun name game, and let's get Greeky.
Let's get it to the Greek.
All right, let's get Greeky with it.
Greek me, baby.
In Greek mythology, this Gorgon, less commonly known as Gorgo as her given name, was famous for her ability to turn you into stone with just a look into her eyes, but her hair might have given you a distraction and maybe a little bit of time to slither away.
Medusa.
This is how we go. I want to open up with winners from these categories.
Okay.
I want to build the confidence of the team here.
Okay.
Before eventually I'm going to ask something about, somebody never heard of before.
Okay.
That's
very
a
good.
winner right there.
Avery, well done. We'll put you on hold. Get your information, sir. Congrats, as always.
Thanks, guys.
Randy
Absolutely.
Moss and
There you go.
Medusa. I mean, how often has that combination sent you to Johnny's?
He turned cornerbacks into stone.
With a single look.
With just one look.
Seriously, right
That's it.
there. That's a
and
good.
Culpepper only had to give one look and say, I'm going to throw it.
I'm going to just write down for the podcast for this hour just Randy Moss and Medusa. I'm going to figure out how to make that work.
Randy Moss-Sousa, Randy Medusas.
No, that's actually something you can get at Johnny's.
Moss-Dusa.
You can actually go ask for Randy Moss-Dusa.
Randy Moss-Dusa.
on your
Randy Medusas.
your fries, and they'll
Randy
do that for you.
Medusas.
Randy Medusas. There it is.
Can I get that Randy Medusas, please? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Isn't
Yeah.
rattlesnake sauce a thing? I think that's actually what that turns into.
Yeah,
This is
probably.
a winner.
Probably.
For all of us. We've all won today.
Bringing Sean into the game here, a little sports or leisure. Sean, what side do you want to start with, sir?
Oh, man. Took my Randy Moss.
I know.
I didn't even have to look that one up. As soon as you said turn of the century, I knew it was Moss.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
What are you thinking now, Sean? What category?
I guess we're going to start with sports. What do we got?
We got Brady Bunch, so just Chiefs games against Tom Brady. We've got college football, Major League Baseball.
All right, let's do the Tom Brady.
All right, Tom Brady. All right, so Patrick Mahomes has thrown 11 touchdowns in games versus Tom Brady. Who has the most touchdown receptions? Who has he thrown the touchdowns to the most times in those games v. Brady? I'll tell you, this guy has more than half of them. I didn't realize that, but one player has more than half of Patrick Mahomes' 11 touchdown passes.
Currently on the team.
Currently on the team?
Well, this is a coin flip question.
Well, I mean, he was on the team when Mahomes was throwing him the touchdowns. I mean, I can't say whether or not he's still on the team just because, like...
Sorry, because obvious. The answer is Jody Fortson, right?
Yes, there you go. Why did you give it away?
Sorry,
Damn it.
Sorry.
Ah!
Sorry. What do you want for leisure?
Oh, my goodness. I'm answering the next one, then. We're going to just throw the stuff out there like that. What do you say?
Revenge for Tom Brady bunch.
Okay, I got...
Can't give any hits on this one, and we got to go one guess on this one. No hints, one guess, just because, I mean... Come on.
Let's say, I think it's either Tyreek or Kelsey.
You're on the right path. It's one of those two.
So
You
far,
are right.
so good, man.
Which is why I couldn't tell you if he's currently on the team or not. Can't give that away. Can't give that away.
Byron Pringle.
Let me say Kelsey.
Oh! Sean!
Well, that question's still out there. If anybody on hold's currently paying attention.
Sean!
Look, Sean out of 50-50.
Thank you for playing,
Sometimes
Sean.
you
I
lose the coin
appreciate it,
toss.
man. Damn it! That was by Sean as in Con. Con!
Ooh, I got that reference.
Sean! All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. That question is out there if someone knows the answer or if they want to Google it. They know the answer to that
If you
one.
have to Google that question, don't call in.
That's right. We got other Brady Bunch questions as well. Some more sports or leisure coming up next. 913-381-0810, presented by Johnny's Tavern. More next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you for playing, and a winner.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Little sports or leisure. 913-381-810 Sports or leisure. Get a sports question, get a leisure question, get them both right. You win $25 to Johnny's Tavern on the line. Got a couple questions out there. Let's go back to the phone lines. And we bring in Gary. Next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Gary, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with? Gary!
Someone whose name sounds sort of like Gary.
And
Barry, Mary, Jerry?
Gary. Gary on the kick drum, Gary. And Gary on the kick drum, Gary. And Gary. Come on the kick drum, Gary. Gary on the kick drum, Gary.
Nope, don't get it.
Reference? Anybody? Bueller? Brisco?
Hey, Bueller, I know.
All right. Put Gary on hold, and we go to Andrew, the Tone Rangers. Andrew, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with, sir?
Go sports.
All right, we've got the Brady Bunch, we've got college football, and we got Major League Baseball.
How about that last question?
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 11 touchdowns in games versus Tom Brady, who has the most touchdown receptions in those games from Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey was guessed. That was incorrect. What say you, sir?
Tyreek Hill.
That is
So
correct.
smart. Such a good guess.
That is correct. It is Tyreek Hill.
Damian Williams.
Tyreek
Between
Hill.
him and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill had 6. Has 6 of them. He had 3 in one game against the Bucs, in the regular season a couple of years ago. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill with 6. Leisure with Josh.
Here's the categories again. Marvel questions, relatively challenging. The commonly misspelled word spelling bee. The pun name game. And let's get Greeky.
Well, you gotta go Marvel.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna break into this for the first time here today. In Guardians of the Galaxy, so far so good. You seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh yeah.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, what is Peter Quill's ship named after?
Ooh.
Oh, wouldn't it?
I have a little more info that I could possibly give you if the struggle's real here.
I think I might need that little help.
It is named after Peter's childhood crush.
Oh man. Childhood crush. It's gotta be somebody from the 80s. Gosh.
While you're thinking, I did want to pass along. Travis Kelce has 1 touchdown catch from Mahomes in games versus Brady. He has 1 of the 11. Isn't that surprising, right?
It is very surprising.
Really surprising. He's got 1 of the 11. So that is an ominous sign for this weekend. I would not start Travis Kelce in fantasy football if I was you.
Probably will.
I would stay way far away from Kelce in fantasy football.
That's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
My brother is disappointed in both of you for not getting the reference from the movie The Breakup with Gary on the kick drum. Gary.
I got that.
Thank you. You know what? You're a half winner already, Andrew.
Yeah, you've made it halfway through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trying to see if I could dance around this one for you, but I just we are in like deeper trivia territory now on the Marvel category.
I just can't think of what it's called.
It's simply one name. It is the last name of his childhood crush. That's what I'm gonna have to draw the line there. It's the last name of his childhood crush. The blank, the orange and blue one over in the corner.
The blank, the orange and blue one over in the corner.
It's just a quote from Star-Lord itself.
Kapowski.
I like the guess, though.
It's a good
like
dart
the
thrown.
Guess. Kapowski, nice. Andrew, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Half winner, and also even more than that, half winner with the getting the reference of the breakup. Let's go to Ryan next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ryan, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with, sir?
Let's go with leisure.
Okay, which of those categories do you like?
Let's go with Greek mythology.
Okay. We all know about the Achilles tendon in sports, obviously. We know about Achilles' heels. But why was Achilles, in Greek mythology, invincible everywhere except for his heel?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, the Achilles heel is because in Greek mythology, Achilles was killed by, I believe, a poisoned arrow to his heel. That was the only
Achilles, right?
that was the only part of his body that was not impenetrable to outside forces.
Which is typical for gods.
Why was it that his heel was the only unprotected part of his body?
They hadn't invented dudes yet.
That's right. He didn't have any dudes.
Any dudes on that
He
protects.
didn't have high tops.
Yeah,
That's right.
He didn't have the PF Flyers. Had he had the PF Flyers, he could have jumped higher and ran faster than anybody else, based only on wearing those.
Just wearing slides, leaving those heels out there.
That's right. You know, those
It's
slippers you're
something to
wearing.
do with something to do with the river Styx.
Oh, yeah.
Dunked him in it.
Yeah, you are much closer than I thought you were going to be by the time you were answering this question. Give me a tiny bit more.
Yeah, I was just going to say because he wore sandals, you know. They hadn't invented shoes with backs on them yet.
So go ahead and submit your best answer. You're very close.
That part of the body didn't touch the water.
That's exactly right. His mother held on to his heel to dip him into the river Styx. Back out again. His heel never got dipped. Therefore, it was his Achilles heel.
Why wouldn't she just put like
Sometimes
I don't know.
characters
How
in
about
Greek
his
mythology
hair?
just
Well, I guess he doesn't have hair. He's a baby, so
dip him,
never mind.
How about dip him
Ear.
in once, flip him over, dip him in again? I don't know.
Oh, a double dip.
I would double dip the baby. I personally would have double dipped
But
Achilles.
you know what? She's respectable of everybody else at the river. She
Good
doesn't
point.
double dip.
Good point. That's a great point.
You don't want to
Just
pass
good
along
manners.
germs.
He died from good manners.
Don't double dip at the river. All right, Ryan, we're on the sports side now. We got the Brady Bunch. We've got college football and Major League Baseball.
Let's go the Brady Bunch.
All right, so I'm not going to ask that question. It's too difficult.
Made you work for Achilles already.
Yes. All right, so Tyreek Hill has the most touchdowns scored for the Chiefs when playing against Brady, as we just established. 2 players are tied for the second most with 4 each. Now, I just told you that Travis Kelce only had 1, which was an odd discovery. 4 touchdowns, and I'm not talking about receptions. It's just overall touchdowns scored against the opposing team when Brady is in that. So games against Tom Brady. 2 different players have 4 touchdowns each. Name either of the 2 players that have 4 touchdowns each. Doesn't have to be from the Chiefs in games that they played against. In games that they played against Tom Brady.
Oh gosh. Sammy Watkins.
I will tell you there's a mixture of receiving and rushing in these 4. And it doesn't have to just be Mahomes. This is games any against Brady, which goes back to 2001, 2, 3. Any games against Tom Brady, what Chiefs player has the most touchdowns scored? After Tyreek Hill.
Why am I?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
The clock is rolling.
Priest Holmes.
Priest is incorrect. Ryan, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-810-810.
Sports side was his Achilles heel. I think I said 3 of those 4 words wrong.
But you know what?
Got the point.
We knew where you're going.
Got it across. Sounds like speaking was my Achilles heel.
Let's go with George next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. George, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hello, Mr. Brisco specifically.
Hello, George. George is a long timer.
Okay, well.
He'll learn to love you too, Jason.
One day. It does take a lot to learn to love me. So I'm still waiting for my wife to get there.
The problem is most of your stuff is through online or Twitter, and I don't have access while I work.
Well,
so
it's a good
can't
point.
do it.
Yeah,
Listen, but can't
point.
call. Or
yes.
Type. But anyway, win or lose, by the way, I have a question for you, if I may, at the end.
Absolutely, yes.
And by the way, you missed out on the Moss Medusa catchphrase.
What would it be?
You got stoned.
Well, that's pretty good.
All right, so Getting Stoned with Randy Moss and Medusa is the title of the podcast.
They both
Thank you, George.
had issues with getting
Well,
stoned.
hey, the NFL doesn't anymore, so too bad.
That's a good point, yeah.
All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing part of my job for me today, George. Really appreciate that. You have a knack for it.
It's my job, and I'm going to probably lose on the sports side, but I'm going to take the leisure side because that's the easy one with the marble question.
Ooh, right
Oh,
there.
okay,
Yep.
the one that's out already, Peter Quill's ship.
Sure, because again, she is the boss, Miss Alyssa Milano.
Yeah. See, he went
right.
Kapowski, but it wasn't far off from where the childhood crushes were from that.
And go with. I'm gonna. I was hoping for the pun game.
Can have both.
Technically, the absolute easiest thing you can think of.
Yes.
What team is burnt orange from the largest state in the contiguous United States?
This Alabama head coach.
Oklahoma State quarterback Spencer Sanders became the second player in Big 12 history with at least 300 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single half. Who was the other?
He was a Alabama head coach too.
No, that was me being a jerk.
He's just being a jerk.
I was just stalling.
Yeah, he was just joking about when you said give you an easy
Oh,
one.
I
He was
could. Bear Bryant. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's not that. But this is Spencer Sanders with those crazy numbers in one half of football: 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single half. Who was the only other player in Big 12 history? It was not Oklahoma, nor was it Oklahoma State, but it is one of the newer teams in the Big 12 because if not, it would have been Big 8.
Okay. Yeah, well,
it could have been. I would have. That is a little bit of a hint because even though I was wrong on that, I still just gave it away that it was probably one of the new 4 teams that joined the Big 12.
True, and Utah probably or
nope.
No.
So one of the teams that joined the Big 8 to become the Big 12.
No, go ahead and dig me and give it to the next. But I will ask my question now.
Yeah, please go ahead.
And you can use this for your Stump the Chumps later in the week.
I will pass it along to them.
Okay. So the 2020 World Series playoffs, the 4 teams, they were the Atlanta Braves, Tampa Bay Rays, Houston Astros, and L.A., right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is the one significant common factor since the Civil War that they all have in common?
All baseball teams.
That's a good point.
All made the conference finals in the league finals in the 2020.
They all moved in location from their previous city.
This is true too, but that
that was just my guess.
Civil War is the point that I want to make point of.
Yeah.
And that's why I added it in there.
I don't know.
In the history of baseball, that's the first time ever that all 4 teams were below the Mason-Dixon line.
How about that? How about that? Mason-Dixon was a hell of a player in the 50s, too. So
yeah, it had that Big 12 passing record that Georgia
They're
knew
all
about.
They're all southern cities.
Yeah.
Now, granted, L.A. was technically part of the Union in the Civil War, but
the line stands.
Yes, it does. It does. George, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, sir. 913-381-810. The problem with the Royals is they have too many guys under the Mendoza line.
Hey-o.
That's an issue. So I think we're done. Are we done? Okay, we got to go. We're done.
Done.
Because we're late for a break, and Beard says we're going to have a very quick segment left. So we will give out the questions or the answers to the questions.
Show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Smokers and have a body mass index of 27 to 40. Volunteers must be available for 4 stays totaling 12 nights and 12 outpatient visits. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $21,600 for time and travel. Call ICON today at 913-210-5900.
Are you looking for a career change? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are hiring right now, and there's never been a better time to check those opportunities out. Go to 810WHB.com. Easton Roofing. So check it out at 810WHB.com. 810 Job Connections, connecting you with your next career.
Even if you're not a football fan, you're going to love Halftime. Get 2 free windows for every 2 you buy with no payments until 2025. That's 2 windows free for every 2 you buy with no limit. Plus, no down payment, no payments, and no interest until 2025. At that rate, you can take it to the house, the whole house, and only pay for half. Window Nation's professional team has drawn up this winning game plan to save you money now and for many seasons ahead. Their beautiful, energy-efficient windows are expertly fit to your home by installers averaging 15 years experience. They've tackled over 250,000 projects and saved homeowners millions of dollars on energy bills alone. Make the call today and get Donation. That's 866-90-NATION, or visit windownation.com and tell them Stephen St. John sent you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can pay at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Insulate and fill gaps in your home with Menard's wide selection of foam sealants. Great stuff, gaps and cracks, expands to form permanent, weather-tight seals to Menard's today. And save 11% on great stuff, foam sealants. Good through October 2nd. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
All right, answers to questions that we did not get. Oklahoma State quarterback Spencer Sanders, second player in Big 12 history with at least 300 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single half. Who was the only other player to do that? That would be Patrick Mahomes in 2016.
That makes sense.
Versus Stephen F. Austin. And Stephen F. Austin was really annoyed as being the guy out there trying to stop. No wonder he did that.
Difficult job.
Tyreek Hill, the most touchdowns scored for them each.
Kareem Hunt.
And Damian Williams.
There we go. 2 running backs.
Those
okay.
are the 2, Kareem Hunt and Damian Williams. Any questions you did not get answers
nope.
to?
The Milano was the last one out there.
All right. That'll do it here for The Zone and Sports or Leisure and winning Johnny's Tavern.
Getting stoned with Medusa. What a show.
Great. This continues to be the Achilles heel of the station.